Okay, good evening, everybody. We're going to talk about affordable housing for a sec first, but good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Town of Greenwich Planning and Zoning Commission, a meeting being held virtually on Tuesday, November 14th. We were just Bob, you were going to mention something about a statute and an affordable
Mhm.
housing?
It was just apropos the statement you made of sending some DET folks some information about how to get a moratorium. And the statement I was going to make was simply that as I read the moratorium statute in the state books, um, no moratorium points are awarded at all unless the particular project is restricted to state median income, and no project ever built by Greenwich Communities will be. They rely on federal funding, which is all on area median income. um, I've reached out to Mike Santoro in the Department of Housing to confirm whether they read the statute the same way I do, but I think the English language is English language. So
When you talk to Santoro, could you also ask the question? When I reread it today, it said the greater of 2% or 75 HUE points. If you don't know how many HUE points you have,
how do you do it? It's a
how
good
do you
question.
do it?
That's a
Just
good
curious.
question.
Okay, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Once again, Tuesday, November 14th. Some announcements before we begin. We have 3 postponements. The first postponement is number 3 Sutton Land LLC for a final site plan at 22 Glenville Street. This would be the supermarket. The second postponement is number 5 Anthony and Laura Manganiello and La Maza Realty to confirm 2 parcels at 0 River Street and 28 Hollywood Lane. The third postponement is number 8 Maria and Stephen Harris Rubino for a final re-subdivision at 19 Lakeview Drive. Also this evening, Mr. Levy and Mr. Wells are absent. Mary Jenkins will be seated for Mr. Levy. In addition, Mr. Barilek will be seated for me on the first application. It finally, just as an announcement, just so people are aware, on the 19th of September, we closed the site plan application, the preliminary site plan application for 9 Glenville. We will decide that application we will move or not move that application at our next meeting on the 28th of November. We do not have everybody who was seated at it this afternoon. And with that, we begin with the first application for which I will be recused due to a personal conflict, and I will be turning it over to Mr. McRae.
Good evening, Mr. Hagney.
Evening, Mr. McRae. This is a two-lot subdivision, which you saw at your last meeting. There were a couple of outstanding items. One was to get a positive comment from the town engineer, which we received, and he has said approved for subdivision. There were a couple of changes to the declaration of restrictions, which we have made and forwarded to staff. And there was an additional deed going back prior to 1933, which we hadn't included in our deed history, which we did include and added that along with the chain of title back prior to 33. And we also, as was discussed at the briefing session yesterday, put language on the record sheet which indicates that the house which is currently on the property and the open space parcel would be handled at the time either a building permit is issued for one of the lots or one of the lots is sold off. And that would remain on the land records as part of the recorded subdivision map. And I think that addresses all of the outstanding items that we had. We would ask for your approval.
Okay, commission members, any questions for Mr. Hagney?
None for me.
No.
Okay, Mr. LaRoe, are there any public that wish to speak?
Anybody in the public would like to speak on this application, please raise your virtual hand. Once, twice. I see none, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. Would we like to close this application then?
Yes.
Okay, go to close this application, and I guess we can do a motion. Mr. LaRoe, right?
We can.
So asking for a motion, I think I'll cough one up. This is to Tomney Road, Final Subdivision, PLPZ 2023-296. Applicants requested a final subdivision of an existing 34,097 square foot lot into two parcels, providing an open space parcel of 5,115 square feet in the R12 zone. Commission finds that per section 2616, the application is a re-subdivision. Conservation issue comments dated 11/9 indicating recommendations to the proposal. Zoning issue comments dated 9/26 indicating proposal meets the requirements of the BZR. Department of Public Works issue comments 10/9 indicating approval for subdivision. Sewer Division issue comments on 10/24 requesting the applicant submit a signed letter of acknowledgement of their comments. And Wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire dated 7/21/23 indicating no action required. Therefore, a motion to approve with the following comments. For Sewer Division, comment, the applicant has submitted that acknowledgement letter dated 10/26/23. The applicant should prepare a record map in a form suitable for the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commissions to sign and file with the Greenwich Land Records. Prior to recording of the map, the applicant shall provide the drainage maintenance agreements to planning and zoning staff for review and recording with the Greenwich Land Records. And if anybody's got questions on this, prior to the redevelopment of either lot, the applicant shall record the executed open space declaration on the Greenwich Land Records. And prior to redevelopment of either lot, the applicant shall provide an open space restoration plan using native species and invasive species management plan. The applicant shall provide a monument and iron pin demarcation of the open space, and the demarcation shall be shown on the final record map, and the applicant shall address any and all outstanding staff or interdepartmental issues. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lowe, second. Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Mr. Oberlak,
Aye.
Mr. Lowe,
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins,
Aye.
and I am an aye, so we have a motion that's passed.
Thank you,
Okay,
Mr. McRae.
Hi,
good-
everybody.
have a good evening, Mr. Hegney.
Well, he'll be back.
A few times.
Are you gonna pull him out or I'm doing it now? I
Uh,
like that I am an I.
Miss Fernandez is going
Yes.
to, there we go, is
Yeah.
going to be next.
Mm-hmm. Are you bringing her in?
I did ask her to join. Yep.
There she is. Okay, our next application is Juan Fernandez, application for a final coastal site plan to reconstruct a porch, remove a stair from the town's right of way, construct a new stair, and add a curb cut with a parking space onto a property at 147 South Water Street. This is in the R6 and coastal overlay zone, and the property is just over 5,000 square feet. Ms. Fernandez, good evening.
Evening, how's it going?
Actually, what you would do is now you would just summarize what you've turned in since we last spoke.
Oh, yes. Okay, so we have changed the layout of the staircase for it to go onto the property. It used to go directly down. Now it goes like in an L shape. It would be going into the direction of the parking spot that's going to be built. And what else? There was comments
You-
about.
You
I'm sorry.
submitted paperwork to indicate that you had not done the 50% improvement, so you do not have to bring your house up to compliance with the federal flood zone regulations. That's the other thing you did. You have you're waiting to hear back, I believe, still, or no, did they get the sign off from about the sight line for the driveway?
Yes, they
Yes.
did.
Yep. Mr. Paredes explained that he doesn't think that'll be an issue and he's
Right.
okay with the layout.
So the driveway, there would not be a site plan issue.
No.
What else did they submit?
We submitted the document that shows that the house is a legal three-family home.
Three bedroom, and that you have the certificates of occupancy. That's right.
Yes.
We also
Um,
received the affidavit. Sorry, Ms. Fernandez. We received the affidavit today regarding the sewer comments.
The signed letter.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah. Signed letter. And I think that was it for the outstanding comments.
Yep.
I know the chairs has also gotten this conversation, but we did talk with parking services about the on-street parking, and there is no parking on that side of the street. So there won't have to be any manipulation or relocation of municipal spaces on the road because it's on the other side of the street. So that's not that it would have been a problem, but it's just good news.
So there's the update. Questions or comments from the commission? There's also a question about the landscaping, what landscaping would fit and what would be done after the work, what kind of landscaping to implement. And any questions from the commission?
Mr. Rowe, Ms. Kulikowski, could somebody bring up the site plan? I have a crazy idea. It's deficient in parking by a lot, and we're kind of squeezing in through some serious hoops here, one space in the front yard. As I went by there today, we've got actually it's a relatively nice building covered up by these crazy hedges. And now will be kind of crazy hedges with a car in front. What would you think of actually not requiring that parking space in the front, and instead of hedges, just requesting maybe 2 nice trees to really kind of soften and kind of work with the rest of the streetscape? Because there's trees, good, nice, mature deciduous trees on the same side of the street, except for this piece of property.
Ms. Fernandez?
If the comment is regarding the hedges closest to the sidewalk, I believe like the hedges are going to move them back towards the
Well,
end of the porch.
He's actually asking you how important you think that new parking space is, and because I believe, Mr. McRae, what you're raising is it's actually not even though you don't have any parking in the front yard is also not consistent with our regulations. So, Mr. McRae, did I understand you correctly that you're wondering if it's even worth having, if that parking space is a worthy trade-off?
Exactly. It's kind of just there. It's one space with a humongous curb cut that's actually next door to another humongous curb cut. And my thought was, rather than force in more asphalt for one little space, why don't we keep the whole thing as a nice green area, put in 2 nice big deciduous trees, and let's see the house. Let's see it as part of the streetscape.
I guess because I mean, yes, there's gonna be this space that it would seem like it's blocking off the house, but I feel like if anything, it opens up the space, because right now it's where the hedges are on the left side where the parking spot is, it's stone. It's really just this big space. And I feel like it'll open up the space with, even though it is, yes, you would want a greenery, but the parking spot is,
well, I was thinking You know,
Go
getting
ahead.
rid of the
She
the
went-
hedges
yeah.
there.
I'm sorry, Ms. Fernandez, we interrupted you. What were you saying?
The street is already very limited on parking, and it would it would be great for our house to have some parking spaces of aside. Yes, it would only be one parking space, but if you've seen the condition of parking on our street, it's very hard to find parking, and if not, we have to go around the block. Like, and if we have the space, it would be great to have that. One less inconvenience.
Okay. So we'll take the hedges down, put in the parking space, the new curb cut. And then I guess ARC is talking about privet hedge and conservation is talking about a tree and something else.
Yes, it would be around the parking area and also on the other side, on the opposite side.
So what we could do is if Mr. Larone and Ms. Kolakowski are amenable, we could leave that with some guidance to staff on what would be ideal for for screening. If it's not, there's not really room to screen the car, is there?
No, because the curb cut itself
Mm,
is almost the complete width of depth
yeah,
of the
so
parking
there's
space.
no, I mean, you could put something in the corner there that is frondy.
Ms. Fernandez, Mr. Straza would like to speak to you. Would you like him
Oh.
to help you out?
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh,
Okay.
that's great. Okay. Uh,
Mr. Straza, you can unmute and speak.
and then Mr. Lowe has a question as well. I'm not see, oh, Mr. Straza, if you want to unmute, we're ready for you. Well, I'll tell you what, while we're waiting for Mr. Straza to unmute, why don't we let Mr. Lowe ask his question?
Yeah, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm having a
Great,
little
see Mr. Straza. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lowe. Go ahead.
as we discussed yesterday, I'm having a little trouble rationalizing this space in front of the house and with our regulations. Given that it would be inconsistent, as I
Mhm.
believe our chairperson said.
Right, but it
And-
decreases right now they are short 6 spaces, so it decreases the parking nonconformity.
But yes, I
But then,
understand.
yeah, but
But-
that's exactly the question before us, and I think it's where Mr. McRae was going as well, is what do we want to do with that?
And I'm terribly sympathetic to the need and the desire of the applicant to facilitate the parking at her house. But I don't know. And when I say I don't know, it means I really don't know how we, fudge these regulations to accommodate this desire. So I'm looking for guidance on how this can even take place. And on the screening, I'm completely befuddled by the concept of screening something that is a big wide driveway with a car sitting there.
Okay, I think that's the same question that I think that's really a decision we have to make. We've heard Ms. Fernandez justification. And Mr. McRae has raised the same question. Mr. Straza, are you ready? And I lost him again. Mr. Straza, is he gone? Yeah, he's gone. Was he with you, Ms. Fernandez?
Not physically. One.
He's on the phone.
Let me.
Okay, there he is again. Okay. So, Mr. Straza, go ahead and talk to us. You're unmuted, so you should be okay to talk. Okay, go. You're unmuted. Let's go. No? All right. Ms. Jenkins, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the things that just occurred to me, is there any front of the building parking in that area, in that vicinity? Or is this going to be the first in front of building parking on South Water right there?
No, there's some of the other buildings on the same side of the street have parking in the front yard.
Okay,
Whether it's complied with zoning or approved is a different story.
okay. Thank you, Nick.
I will get Mark on the phone, and I'll just have him on speaker.
Yeah,
If
he's
that's possible.
unmuted. He must be having trouble with his sound because he's unmuted, but he's not.
Yeah, I think it might be just not connecting to his mic.
Okay.
Okay.
Sometime.
1 second, I will get
All
that
right.
phone call started.
So as to the land, Mark is going to come. Mr. Strauss is going to comment on the landscaping.
I have Mark on the phone now.
Mr. Straza? Hi, we can hear you. Hello?
1 second. Disconnect. Okay. There it goes.
Okay, Mr. Straza, try again.
Hi, how are you? Sorry,
All right, go ahead. We can't hear him.
I
Mr.
can't hear him, Monica. Sorry.
No?
No.
1 second. Strange.
Okay. I think we may have to pass without him.
1 second, right here.
Okay. Try again, Mr. Straza. Sorry. Can you hear him?
Yes.
He's going into your earbuds only is the problem.
No, I could disconnect it.
He's not coming.
He's not.
Whatever.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna relaunch it again. All right, we'll try one more time. I'm sorry.
No, you're there. You're there. You're there. We can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so in reference to Nick's response about the landscaping, you have a commercial building across the street.
Yep.
with no landscaping whatsoever, and I understand his point, but if you look at the streetscape, a lot of the other houses have parking in the front. There is a precedence there, and we are doing some landscaping in front of the porch and around the other side of the house. This property is very compromised because it's very narrow. There's very little space on each side of the house to get to the backyard. They don't have many options. They really
Right.
need. If you go down there during the day, it's nothing but contractors and trailers of material. One space I understand is not making it compliant, but they need at least the one space.
Okay. And so what were your thoughts on landscaping? Because I think we got the clarity. We know that the parking's tight on South Water. One space doesn't solve the problem, but it's one space tight less. What were your thoughts on the landscaping? There was a recommendation from ARC and a recommendation from conservation. Did you have a leaning either way?
So until we get started with the project, and I mentioned this last time, and until we see what is when we start excavating, I believe this lot is going to have lead, similar to the property on St. Rock's Ave.
I agree with you.
We can try to get an ornamental tree in, but I don't think we're going to get anything that's going to be substantial, like a pear or something that's going to get 20 or 30 feet tall. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're going to have the area for a ball root to be able to get a tree of that stature. So,
All right.
So we could probably get some ornamental trees, something small, like maybe a red maple or something to that effect, but We're not gonna get something big, and I would say we could get it on the right-hand side of the house as you're looking at it from the street.
Yeah, okay, so you would do that, and I was thinking in the corner where the parking space is gonna go, you might be able to put in something like a skip Laurel.
Well, the parking space, remember, the other thing too is we're building sheet walls on each side, so they're not gonna have any access. We need a staircase on the right-hand side to be able to access the backyard. They're gonna need a place to, be able to turn and get in and out. Another tree in the parking area is gonna make that difficult.
In the very corner by the street. In the corner, as if you pull into park on the driver's side in that corner, there would be room for one shrub, is my read.
Okay, well, again, we'll see when we start excavating.
You'll see it. Okay. I agree with you that you're gonna have ledge. Yeah, I agree. I agree that there's probably ledge there. Just the way it's built makes it look like there's ledge there.
Yeah, because both houses left and right of them are
Yeah.
lower.
Yeah,
I believe that's the house is built the way it was.
all right. Okay, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Straza? Thought you fell off your chair, Mr. Lowe.
No, I just picked up my iPad. Thank you, though.
Anybody else have questions for Mr. for Mr. Straza? No. Do we have any comments on this application from the public? This is an application at 147 South Water Street. There are no comments from the public. So with that, what do you all want to close this? Yes?
Yes, I'm ready to go.
Okay. And therefore, if nobody objects to closing this application, if anybody objects, please indicate so. Seeing no objection, this application is hereby closed. Before I ask for a motion, is there any discussion on this, on the trade-off with the zoning situation? Again, they're reducing the parking nonconformity overall in exchange for something that we would have to deem a lesser nonconformity, which is parking in the front yard. And that is the decision that we would have to make on that. In addition, they're reducing the nonconformity of having the stair in the town right-of-way, the entry stair. So those would be the considerations. Does anybody have thoughts on where the?
Well, I think there ought to be a discussion. And as I mentioned, I'm troubled by this as I would be wherever this application was coming from. And I'd like to get some input from fellow commissioners on. I mean, I'm not sure I understand the so-called, if we're viewing this as a trade-off, therefore we're reducing one bit of noncompliance, but adding another. And the fact that there are other
you have to deem that the new nonconformity is a lesser nonconformity than the existing one.
yeah,
Okay, that's the decision that's the call you make. It's relatively subjective. Sometimes it's very clear, but what you have to deem is that you are creating a lesser nonconformity to get rid of a bigger one.
right. So we're satisfying 16% or something of the one nonconformity.
Mhm.
And we're, putting a parking space in the front yard is 100% of a nonconformity. The fact that there are other houses in the area with parking in front probably, I assume, speaks to the fact that they somehow were grandfathered in before this before the regulations
Mhm.
were set in con-
There is an additional factor, which is, I don't know that in addition, this is a 5,000 square foot lot in a 7,500 square foot zone. So it is a non-conforming lot with three residential units. So it is a non-conforming lot to begin with. I don't know, we don't have the analysis. I don't know that the other lots that have parking in the front yard whether they are large enough to have retained some green area. And that's just something we don't know. But when that's information that we don't have. Ms. Jenkins, do you have any comments on this? You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, the reason for my question was that obviously to the extent that it was a change to the character of the overall neighborhood to add parking in front, would certainly influence my decision making. Clearly the idea of screening front yard parking is just not going to happen. The car is going to be there parked in front of the house, no matter what gets planted on the other side of the driveway and the turning radius. So that on the other hand, parking in an area like that where there's no parking on one side of the street and there's commercial parking and there are other multifamily houses. I can also understand the concern of the landowner to have some access to parking. So it's not an ideal solution. I guess whenever you have a nonconformity, it's not an ideal solution in any case. But I'm struggling as you are, Mr. Lowe, with the balancing of one nonconformity against another.
Mr. Yeski?
I'm with Commissioner Lowe, and I think Mary. It's a very awkward situation, and not something that I'm thrilled with.
Okay. Mr. McRae, I believe you have marching orders. I
Okay,
think you have the basis to make a motion based on how people are leaning.
okay, let me tee this up and then we can kind of work through it here. Did we close this officially?
Yes, we did.
Okay. This is 147 South Water Street, final coastal site plan special permit PLPZ 2023-299. Applicant seeking approval to permit and construct to reconstruct an existing porch, remove the entry stairs to the town right of way, and construct new stairs on site. Add a curb cut and create an asphalt parking area in the front yard, and associated site work and landscaping on a 0.1 acre parcel in the R6 and AE14 flood zones and coastal overlay zone. Whereas the site is non-conforming as to parking per section 158B, and as required by the property, came up before the commission as a pre-application at the 5/6/23 meeting under PLPZ 2023-107. Okay. Let me just put this out and then we can discuss this. The commission finds that section 158 of the BZR modifies the requiring parking requirements for the site. Zoning issue comments dated 10/11/23 requesting compliance with section 6/139. Sewer issue comments dated 10/11 requesting applicants submit a line sewer acknowledgement letter. Engineering, the applicant has submitted a drainage exemption dated 3/7/23. Conservation issued comments dated 7/11/23. Indicating recommendations to the landscape plan. ARC issued minutes dated 10/4/23 indicating recommendations to the landscape plan. And wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire on 1/11/19 indicating no action required. Therefore, a motion to approve the site plan special permit noting the following. Okay. Per the sewer division comment, the applicant has submitted a sewer acknowledgement letter dated 11/7/23. The applicant shall install one tree, deciduous tree, to the south of the property, southwest corner of the property, and one shrub to the northwest corner of the property. And the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or environmental issues. So let's discuss how that's going to work. Do we want to nix the space? Do we want to add more landscaping? What do we want to do with the existing landscaping? Those are the questions I put out.
Folks, comments? Mary, Dennis, Peter?
I feel
I-
like I've done a fair amount of talking.
I heard everybody say they wanted to nix the space, so.
Yeah.
That's what I heard Dennis, Mary, and Peter say.
Okay,
And I heard Mr. Straza say that they would like some flexibility when they do the stairs and the construction to determine how best to landscape, given the fact that there may be ledge. And so the comment would be that based on the amount of ledge found, that the applicant will work with staff to finalize a landscape plan.
okay.
And am I
Now-
correct in my read of what you guys decided, where you guys are leaning on the space?
Yes.
Well,
do you-
I couldn't be clearer, I didn't think, but I guess.
Okay, no, I'm just making sure, because y'all went silent for a second. I just wanted to
Do we want
reiterate.
to, do you want to give them the option or do we?
To keep, no, I think on the space, we have to make the call and then you have to make the decision. I would add the zoning basis for which you are not, if you are not doing the space, I would add the zoning basis, which is that you find that this creates an additional nonconformity on an already non-conforming site as to size and as to parking, and that this would not be a lesser nonconformity.
Okay,
Well, I said it, so I guess you don't have to say it anymore, but
I'm
you have to
writing it
give-
down.
Yeah, you just have to give the zoning reason. I'm sure.
Okay, and it's
I'm sure
actually.
Tracy could put more fluent words in my
Right.
mouth
Well,
than that.
we have
as-
it-
as
We're
okay.
gonna need, we're gonna need a decision on the motion on put forth, and then if that doesn't carry, then we'll have to.
Well, no, he was trying to amend the motion put forth. It hasn't been seconded yet.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Yeah, it hasn't
thought
been
we had a
seconded yet. No, we don't have a second yet. He was looking for a completion of the motion and then he was going to look for a second.
Okay,
It's probably not Robert's rules, but it works for us.
so right now
um,
we have one tree to the north, one tree to the south with staff to review
Mm-hmm,
based on ledge conditions.
mm-hmm.
And the commission recommends no parking space in the front, no curb cut in the front.
Mm-hmm. Does not
Uh,
approve the addition of a parking space in the
right.
front.
Then that's per section 158B.
Mhm.
We have the opportunity to modify that section of the regulation.
Mhm.
Okay,
Well, all right. Do you
and
have
it's
a s-
it's a lesser not, it's not, it's
it would not be a lesser nonconformity.
not a lesser kind of nonconformity, right?
Okay. Is there a second to that slightly complicated motion? And does everybody understand what's in it first?
No,
Can you repeat it?
no.
I'd like to hear it again.
Okay, we'll have one tree to the southwest corner, one shrub to the northwest corner. That'll be based on discovery of ledge, and it will be reviewed with staff, planning and zoning staff, depending on the ledge conditions. The space requested is going to be nixed because it's not a lesser nonconformity per section 6158. That's our waiver on that.
The commission finds that this would not be a lesser
Yeah. Okay,
Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
Ms. Jenkins says second. Ms. Jenkins, how do you vote?
aye.
Mr. Yeski,
Aye.
Mr. McRae,
aye.
Mr. Lowe,
Aye.
and Albin is also aye. And with that, the motion passes 5-0. Sorry, Ms. Fernandez, but thank you. At least you've got part of it and you don't have to come back.
Alrighty.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Our next application is As For Me and My House. There he is, he's back. There he is. Okay, so As For Me and My House LLC for a final subdivision to create 2 lots on an 88 22 square foot parcel. One of the lots, wait, no, one of the lots will be 8,822 square feet, and the other will be 8,055 square feet. Did I get that right? This open space will be 800 square feet, and the total parcel is 16,878 at 27 Richmond Drive. Mr. Hegney, if you would proceed, we've heard this before. You heard the comments at the commission. We were wondering about the very small amount of open space of conservation easement. In addition, we received public comment today regarding the status of those evergreen trees. So if you want to touch on that, apparently there had been a previous request for an arborist report. I had not recalled that because one of those trees is apparently not in good shape. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. This was a subdivision you heard earlier this year. We had a few outstanding items, so we converted to a preliminary in order to address sight lines, the zoning enforcement officer's comments, and the conservation comments. And we are now resubmitting this as a final site plan, subdivision, excuse me. We have provided the sight lines. The tree warden has signed off on the removal of a pricker bush that allows for the sight line to the north, and our revised development plan shows the sight lines meet the 150-foot required distance. We received the sign off from the zoning enforcement officer on the house floor area for lot 1, and we've also provided a landscape plan. We submitted the sewer letter. We had submitted one earlier, but same remarks we submitted again yesterday. And as you said, Madam Chair, one lot is 8,822 square feet. The second lot, which we're looking to create here, is a net of 7,555. So the property meets the lot shape and area requirements. Lot 2 is slightly less because of the reduction of the access way. We received the sign off from engineering, approved for subdivision. They've reviewed the drainage report, and that was one of the comments that the neighbors had expressed. There might be an issue with drainage and flooding, and we are meeting the town's drainage manual regarding stormwater retention and treatment. Other comments regarding the house. We didn't submit house plans with this. It's not a requirement for the subdivision. That's usually submitted to staff after the subdivision record sheet has been recorded. You submit those house plans to the planning and zoning staff. They review them. It then goes to the zoning enforcement office for their review prior to receiving a building permit. So in order to get that building permit, you have to meet all of the zoning criteria, and that would be floor area, height, and stories. So we're proposing a 2.5-story structure, single family, with a garage underneath. Grade plane is less than 3, so the basement does not count, and the house is less than 35 feet high from the average grade. So we meet all of those criteria, but that again would be reviewed by staff, and if it didn't meet that, it wouldn't be receiving a sign off to go to the building department. The comment about a number of cooking facilities. There are wet bars on 2 of the floors. And again, that's a specific criteria that needs to be met under our zoning regulations before you can go to the building department. On the tree issue, we did have an arborist go out and look at it. I have just received the report. We can certainly provide that to you
Mhm.
if that could be added
You-
as a
oh, so
condition.
Here's
of-
the suggestion. First, the question would be, what did it say?
It said some of the trees are in poor condition.
Okay, so how
And,
about, would you be willing to protect them and protect the good ones, replace the bad ones, and potentially because conservation's comments was that you don't have anything, any way of preservation forward, that you expanded easement for their protection going forward,
um,
so that you replace the bad ones. I kind of got the same feeling from the pictures. I have to tell you the truth. I was really surprised that anybody thought those were all worthy specimens, because they at least one of them looks. But if you would replace it, you don't have to replace it, but with a large tree, but something that will eventually mature and be healthy. I'm not sure that those are the ideal evergreens in the long term anyway, because they're the kind that have the vegetation starts high up, and you're better off having it go all the way down for stability.
Mhm.
So if you were willing to do that, and then we can have could we then sort of blend into that the conversation about, could you do better than the 800 square feet of easement?
I did look at that. I have not gone over that with my client as to whether there was another area which could be used to augment the conservation easement area we're showing in the front.
Patrick,
I suppose there
can you
could be
throw
an
up
area.
can you throw up where the easement is now? And just so everybody can see it.
Probably slide 6, which has our landscape plan on it,
And
would
you know,
be
it
the
would
best
just
one to
be
look at.
I'm just thinking about protecting whatever trees there are, or the new trees that you're going to put in. So you would have a line of trees that has an easement on it. I mean, it's not a big thing. Do you think your client would agree to that?
Well, these lots are relatively narrow, and
Yes, but that's not us who wants to create this lot is the problem.
well,
We're
I
trying to make it
recognize that.
sustainable as possible, given what the applicant would like to do, and to move it forward if possible to be helpful, but at the same time do something more sustainable. All right, so yeah, a little more to the left. This is the part
There we
I'm
go.
really, there we go. All right, so, all right.
So the trees that we're talking about are along the left-hand side, or the southwest side of the
Mhm.
property where the cursor is.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you could just take that conservation area and run it down the left side. It can be a narrow strip that just encompasses the canopy of
yeah, if we were
those.
doing something, 5 feet wide,
There you go.
I think that could work. You can't build within that anyway.
Exactly.
So I think a 5-foot border along the westerly or southwesterly side would be
Okay,
appropriate.
I can live with that. You replace, based on the arborist report, you replace evergreen trees that are failing, and you create a conservation area that runs down that border. It protects your adjacent property owner. I believe that is the property owner who wrote us today, Mr. Fitzgerald. Is
Yes,
723.
he's on the left-hand side there.
So
Yes.
what Mr. Fitzgerald was concerned is one of those trees, I think, is a little tilty towards his house. So you would remove those, you would give him new trees, and you would give him nice screening as this goes forward. I don't think we've heard from the neighbor on the other side.
Yes, you received a email from Ms. Kimball as well, or
Aha.
I should say, Mr. Kimball.
Mr. Kimball, I think they're here, aren't they? Yes, the Kimballs are here. So let's just see what we can do for the neighbors on both sides. And let me get the commission questions first. Thank you, Mr. Kimball. We're going to come to you in a sec. I for some reason, you can keep your hand up. Don't worry about it. Just leave your hand up and we'll call on you in a minute. Okay, questions from the commission on this development? Any other on the subdivision?
Mr. Hagney, just a quick question. Understanding the plans that we have for development are fictitious. The elevations, clearly show it's a two-family. It's going to be a single family, but it's got a rooftop terrace. Would your client be amenable to not doing a rooftop terrace?
No, this is something that he has worked on with the architect and modular company for some time. This is a multi-generational home, so there'll be 3 generations, and they are looking, because of the less active area outside, to at least to have that deck off the attic. So we would very much prefer to keep that as an amenity for the property.
Well, I'm reading the emails from the Kimballs now. I had missed the one yesterday, and the comment is that they are opposed to that terrace, and that they're seeing that this is not going to be a 2-family house, the 5 food prep areas that they're identifying. Mr. Hagney, do you think you could convince your client to abandon this balcony?
I know it was something that was a focal point for them in going through the design. Perhaps if we let the neighbors speak, and then I will come back to you.
Okay. All righty. That sounds like a good plan. You're going to multitask? Oh, there he's gone already.
That was
okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, he's going to multitask. Okay. Do anybody else on the commission have comments? Whoa, that was fast, Mr. Leroux. You got Mr. Kimball in before I could even reach for him. Okay. Hello, Mr. Kimball. I just read your email. I apologize. Go ahead. You're unmuted.
Great. You can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fantastic. Well, everyone, thank you. Wanted to just first thank the commission for your time today and for the opportunity to submit the several comments that I guess that you've now read, but I'm just going to go over them verbally in the meeting. So I'll get started with that. So really 6 main points. Number 1, the floor plans, when previously submitted, were not for a single family home. The plans showed an elevator building with a rooftop terrace, as just discussed, and I think 5 food preparation areas, and also with bedrooms on each of the 4 floors. I guess it's 3 floors plus the garage, but really 4 floors. So that's the first concern. Second was really this the privacy and the site of the redeveloped the property on the lot 2, I guess it is. As you'll see from the maps, I mean, multiple surrounding backyards sort of converge at the top of the hill near where the proposed building site is. The building site being sort of towards the back rather than towards the front of the property, like most of the other properties on the street. And of course, this is alongside, sort of against and looming over our backyard. This proposed site, and in particular, the high elevation rooftop terrace overlooking these private backyards, we think would infringe on our privacy, decrease the property values of our home, and be out of sync with and a detriment to the surrounding neighborhood. The building site it's an atypical elevation for the street, and would appear, I mean, in some ways, to be a taller building next to its neighbors. it's also, like I maybe to reiterate here one more time, the location is unusual. It's at the back of the lot. And there just is not adequate, there's not room for adequate screening between the building and our backyard. Just given the positioning of the proposed structure. So those two concerns, and then moving on, the water concern, the proposed building site with all the tree removals on our side of the property, removing all the trees on our side, keeping all the trees on the other side, the southwestern neighbor's side.
Okay, so you're looking for trees to be preserved on your side as well.
Well, yeah, I think so. Yeah, we're noting that there are tree removals, mature trees, and I'm not a what a hydrologist or somebody who knows much about that.
Trees help drainage. Yes, trees help drainage. You are absolutely correct in your email.
So, I mean, I think that is a concern we'd like to raise, given the role of those trees. I mean, one tree takes up 50,000 gallons. It just in alleviating downstream flood conditions, and potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So we are concerned that removing trees, if it introduces additional runoff into our own backyard, that this would cause potentially exacerbate any issues with water or mold on our property. And I think my wife mentioned that in an earlier meeting.
Yes.
So that's the point 3. Point 4 is really the pedestrian safety. There are a large number of proposed bedrooms. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the most recent plans, but was it 8? But anyhow, and this parking lot, I would say, would draw a lot of vehicle traffic into a very hazardous section of a quiet street coming from the south, up from Sound Beach. Richmond Drive sort of dips down in front of the property. This causes a big blind spot. There was a historic fatal accident in the neighborhood years ago. There's an elementary school bus on the corner of Richmond and Ferris, and I think we just have concerns about the implicit number of cars and traffic that the magnitude of the parking structure would sort of suggest. So that's number 4, I guess. And then back to number 5, we're back to the trees. Again, there are mature trees adjacent to our property, uphill on the proposed lot along all along our property line. In the event of a subdivision, we'd like to request, yes, that the commission consider protecting some of these trees if possible. 10 of the proposed 10 of all of the trees to be cut down are on our side. That's removing an amenity to our property. While keeping all the trees on the other side. I mean, some of which apparently are in not great condition, but nonetheless, none of the trees to be protected seem to be on our side. And those, provide us with shade and an amenity to our property. And lastly, so that's the trees. Finally, the neighborhood features. I think the plan for the existing structure on the first subdivision at 27 Richmond, that structure is an old stone house built in the 20s, and we have seen that the proposed site plan demolishes a major feature of that home and inserts a building, onto that property, or sort of updates, the architectural plan of that historic property. So those are just a summary of the concerns that we raised in the email. But
Okay.
again, thank you for the opportunity of letting us voice that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else from the public wish to speak on 27 Richmond? Anybody else from the public on 27 Richmond Drive subdivision? No. All right, so we'll go on. Mr. Hegney? All right,
Yes,
so
Madam Chair.
he would like you to keep some of the trees there. I know that that's difficult given that where you're locating the new building. And were you able to obtain an answer on your balcony?
Yeah, well, let me mention the trees first. It is difficult to retain those. However, there is a 5-foot area where we're showing grasses, and we could have those as evergreen arborvitae to make for more of a screening and privacy rather than the grasses.
This is on the 729 side.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, not the other side
Okay.
that we were talking about previously, but
Okay.
but
Can you toss that
along
back up,
that,
the landscape plan?
the east side.
Okay. So you would be able to conserve the trees along.
I don't see where we're able.
No,
Yes,
go to the
along
right.
the west side.
We already
Well,
settled,
I'll say
but
the
on the
west
right.
side and the east
on the-
side.
Yeah, I
rather
do better
than-
with numbers, but go to the left again, Mr. Leroux. Okay, so
So
stop.
on that right-hand side,
You might be able to
rather than
give,
having grasses, we can put in some arborvitae, so there would be evergreen screening
okay,
along that
all
property
right,
line.
okay. I think that'll work for Mr. Kimball. And then, what do you
I
have?
wanted to correct any misconception there may be in terms of cooking facilities or anything like that. There's going to be one kitchen. There were wet bars shown. Those aren't necessary either. But that's
I would
more
remove them.
of a zoning issue rather than a
Yeah,
subdivision
well,
issue.
I think it's just a confusion. One of the things we talked about yesterday, given all the concerns about this developmental plan, the development plan for this is that staff would kick it back to us if they had additional concerns, if they had concerns regarding the development plan.
Yeah,
Okay.
and certainly if there are any, the staff would review that, make sure that it meets the zoning criteria.
Well, we got the
but my
best staff
client
in the world.
would- Yes, you do.
Okay, so your
I
client
did speak with my
and-
client, and he would very much like to keep that deck area. That's
Okay.
where the master bedroom is. That's an amenity that's important to him.
Okay. All right, so discussion from the commission. Any other questions?
So, Mr. Hegney, the arborvitae, that would go from Richmond Drive all the way back to the back property line, or just a portion of it? Because I see the switchgrass towards the front.
Yeah, that would be
Yes.
more toward from the location of the parking area toward Richmond Drive.
Okay, so it'll screen the driveway, but not the house. Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty. Probably, I think we would ask then that they try to bring it further towards the house if possible. Because I think the concern is to provide more screening. Now, I gotta say that arborvitae is not ideal for drainage, but and Peter Levy's not here, so I will represent him in saying what needs to be.
I was going to do that since I'm here for him, but I'll let you do it.
Okay, no,
Well,
I already said it. We all know. All I have to do is we say arborvitae and the rest of us go Peter Levy in his absence. Okay,
Yeah, we have gone through with the town engineer the requirements of the drainage manual, and
Yeah.
the town engineer has found
Yeah.
it satisfactory, and that does
yes,
prohibit any peak flows, increase in peak flows off the site.
yeah, but then the town engineer is always happy when P and Z looks for more low impact development techniques to ameliorate a site even more. Are there any other questions from the commission?
Mr. Hegney, just the landscape plan itself, as I see it, based on the existing conditions and the ledge that's out there, you've already removed as much ledge as you can to plant what you have in the landscape plan?
Yes, yeah,
Okay,
that's
yeah, because that's
part
going to
of
be a
what,
deep
this-
hole for the into the ledge, and then
well,
additional.
we also need it for retention areas as well.
Right.
All right,
Uh,
Mr. Yeski?
Yeah, we don't need to close this tonight, right? I would love to go back over and look at the site again based on the neighbor's letter.
No, we do not
I-
need to close this tonight. We've got until our next meeting. So if you want to go back over and look at it, that would be grand. And in the meantime, um, uh, Mr. Hegney can happily send us our arborist report. So if you would rather leave it open, no problem.
I would.
All righty. That being the case, we will leave this application open. Now, Mr. LaRoe, you understand that it has to come back on the next meeting. Because we have to close it at the next meeting.
I do, but I'm not hearing much of anything other than materials that I think have already been sent, but have not been reviewed. So
Right. So the only thing is, and if something goes wrong, Mr. Hegney could always give us an extension. I'm just saying right now it's a must decide.
Believe we have the extension.
We do?
Hold on a
It's
second.
through November 28th.
Right,
28th,
that's-
that's a must decide. An extension is available until January.
Right. That's what I just
Right.
said.
yeah, but we're good to the next meeting, right? Yep.
No, when an extension is available means that Mr. Hegney has to give it to us.
Right.
Right.
I
So,
thought we had it.
no,
Okay.
we don't. We don't. You're thinking of a different application.
Oh, I don't know what I'm thinking.
Well, it's not this one. So you're thinking of something else. It's all right.
It's like-
Okay, so Mr. Yeski, you're set. We will leave it open for the arborist report. For you to give us the amount of square footage you're adding to the easement with the 5-foot wide area that goes from the front of the lot to the rear on the western side. For the landscape plan to be amended to show also the addition of screening on the eastern side.
Yes.
If not, we will wing it with that. And to again ask your client to consider the balcony. I mean, it makes sense that the request from the neighbors normally, this isn't a zoning question. It's just, these are very narrow lots. I see their point. I see
Yeah,
their
well-
point that these are very narrow lots that are being created. And so I see their concern, but again, it's not a zoning issue. We can't tell you there's a zoning regulation that doesn't let you have a balcony. Mr. Yeski, did you want to ask something else?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to walk on these lots? I didn't. Obviously, I don't. I go by, but are we allowed to go back in a little bit, or is that
We're supposed to
need
have
permission
permission.
or what?
We're supposed to have permission
okay?
because otherwise it's trespass.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So if I go back over and I still would like to do it, I have to ask somebody for permission, right? I have to
Well,
ask.
you could
Oh.
ask Mr. LaRoe to tell Mr. Hegney that you would like to visit at 11 a.m. on Wednesday.
Got it. All right. I got it. Thank you.
And then Mr. Hegney would have to be nice and say yes after talking to his client. Okay.
I do
All
have
right.
to talk to my client. That's
Okay. So Mr. Hegney, there you go. Gonna leave it open.
well.
And we will see you very soon,
very shortly. I hope.
very shortly. Very shortly. Thank you,
All
sir.
right. Thank you.
He's not doing the Bruce though, right?
No, Bruce is doing the
That
Bruce.
Bruce
Bruce
is-
does the Bruce, obviously.
Bruce is doing the Bruce. It's okay, guys. All right, now we go to the public hearing. Mr. Basili, are you all set?
Yes, ready to go.
All righty, and so we open the public hearing. Application number 6 is the Bruce Museum for a zoning text amendment to allow nonprofit museums in Greenwich to serve alcohol under a nonprofit public museum permit issued by the state's Liquor Control Commission. Good evening, good afternoon. Something,
Good
Mr. Cohen.
Something to you too, Ms. Sullivan. I'm here, as my friend Mr. Hegney noted, on behalf of the Bruce Museum. They did not name the museum after me, but after Mr. Robert Bruce many years ago. And as you know, as a result of an approval granted by this commission some time ago, the Bruce Museum has just completed the construction and opening of a really beautiful addition to their building for their new art wing, and as a part of that, they have built a cafe that seats 40 people and is available for visitors and people who just want to come in and see what it looks like. The museum has recently applied for a liquor license so that they could serve alcohol like wine and beer during the hours that they're open to the public under a very specific form of liquor license that the state of Connecticut provides for nonprofit museums. And in doing so, they discovered that although the state allows that sort of licensing, the town of Greenwich does not. And so for the purpose of conforming the town regulations with the state requirements or regulations, we've filed this petition for a zoning regulation amendment, specifically for to revise two provisions of the zoning regulations. The first one specifically dealing with the location of alcoholic establishments, that's section 6-194, which already provides for a number of establishment as recognized by the state, such as clubs, cafes, and restaurants, but it does not provide for the nonprofit public museum. And so we have added a proposed amendment to add paragraph number A5 to that provision, and also section 6-95A6, which is a listing of permitted accessory uses in various zones, including the zone in which the museum is located. Again, just as that general regulation provides for the sale of alcoholic beverages by clubs, we propose to add an additional provision for the retail sale of alcoholic beverages to be consumed on the premises of a public nonprofit museum, to follow the language of the state regulation.
Any questions from the commission?
Mr. Cohen, is there another public nonprofit museum in Greenwich?
There may be. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to think back whether or not this historical society was granted a special exception for that purpose at one time. I think maybe the Brandt Art Center.
The Brandt's not open to the public except by special appointment. I went through this in my head over the weekend and couldn't think. I mean, I'm thinking you got to make an appointment. It's not, I don't know if they qualify as public. I wondered about that.
Seven Bridges or Seven Springs was what, I can't think of that project where there was an art component. I don't know
if that's a public museum.
Yeah.
And Mimi's is not a museum.
No.
Brandt was my one question actually over the weekend.
That may have been approved by special exception some time ago as a museum, but you're right. It is not open to the public. It's done by appointment and by.
Yeah, I think it would be hard pressed to say open to the public. To me means anybody can stroll in anytime, right? Open to the public by appointment. Mary, you're, I mean, I know Mr. Cohen's a lawyer, but Mary's making a face. So I don't know what the definition of open to the public is.
Because you can't actually get to that building except through the
Bruce? No, the Bruce, you can walk into the cafe anytime.
The Bruce, yes, but Brandt, no.
Yeah.
Brandt, you got to go through the gate.
Yeah, I think they'd be hard pressed to make the argument. On the other hand, if they wanted to serve alcohol, would we really object? And the other thing I was thinking over the weekend, anybody who remembers the old Virginia Slim Set, we've come a long way.
Maybe.
Not too many years ago, we had, what, 10 years ago, we had distances. We were
Right.
one of the last towns to abandon liquor distances for bars. And we hung on to them for dear life until just a few years ago. And here we are, moving forward once again. It's been a struggle. There was a lot of objection to getting rid of those distances. One of the few things that, there were no terrible results, but everybody was sure that we would be full of,
Drunks.
yes, honestly, I was going to say that, Mr. Cohen, but I do remember a certain town planner saying that.
Well, not
Um,
everybody likes competition either.
No, but it wasn't necessarily competition. It was, anyway, so back to that, I think we're all right. And I think even if Brant was, my thought process was that, that Seven Bridges, we really wouldn't object anyway, as long as the use was relatively limited, which it is. So, and it's a statewide permit possibility. So every other town probably has it. Anything else from the commission?
Yes,
Go.
one additional question. It probably maybe more of my clarification. As I was looking through the actual public act, I guess it's the statute section 630, section 30-37A. Doing a little background into that, it was somewhere in one of the things I was looking at, talked about. I guess it maybe have been the original public act was talking about museums that had 100,000 square feet of display. I'm not too sure if that's current, but what's the display area, Mr. Cohen, at Bruce? Do you know?
It's probably in excess of 50,000 altogether.
Okay.
There is no such limitation on this particular kind of permit, which is found in section 30-91 of the state statutes that specifically calls for nonprofit public museums to be permitted. There are some limitations, but nothing that really impacts the way the museum would operate.
30-91, you said?
Yep.
Okay, I found it under a different one. I'll look. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Not 8.3 of the general statutes.
No, this general statutes, it's that's to us. That's what applies to us.
Okay.
I got
That's
this.
specifically on planning. And
Mr. Cohen, that was 30-91, you said?
Yes.
Okay, because what I'm looking at says that talks about hours and days of closing.
Yes, that's true. But if you, it's a jumble, but it is the statute that provides for licensing of nonprofit public museums.
and would we not, in the language that you're giving us, it would be, did you make clear to Mr. McRae's question, it would be any public museum that is able to obtain a license from the state. That's really the only thing he's asking. So to the extent that the statutes permit a place to have a license, we would also grant the license.
It would be a permitted accessory use.
No, I'm asking a different question, Mr. Cohen. What I'm saying is, if a museum were not able to obtain the state license, the state liquor license, then they would not be able to serve under our regulations either, would they?
That's correct. The regulation that we've provided specifically requires state licensing.
So, Mr. McRae, it doesn't matter then, because if the Bruce failed to meet the state licensing requirements, they wouldn't be able to serve the liquor.
Yeah, that's fine.
And therefore, so we would be allowing only what the state allows. So if there is a square foot issue as you came up, the state would not grant it to them and there would not be an issue. Okay, all righty. Anything else from the commission? All righty, do I have any public comment on the Bruce Museum's proposal for a zoning text amendment? Seeing no public comment on the Bruce Museum's proposal for a zoning text amendment, does anybody object to closing this application at this
No.
time?
No.
All righty, this application is hereby closed and we go to our next application. The next application, I'll wait till the attorney comes in.
That's
Oh, it's Mr. Cohen again?
Yes.
Oh, I hadn't realized that. I always forget to look at who's the attorney on things. All right, sorry, Mr. Cohen. Sorry, Mr. Cohen.
no problem at all.
Okay, our next application is is number 7, the Bailiwick Club Inc. for a final site plan and special permit for renovation of the club's outdoor pool complex, including demolition of the lifeguard shack and the kiddie pool at 12 Duncan Drive. And that is in the RA1 zone. Go ahead, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bruce Cohen again, representing the Bailiwick Club. This application for site plan and special permit approval to renovate the existing outdoor pool complex, including the demolition of an existing lifeguard and a shed or shack and a pool equipment building, and the installation of a new pool and a combined building for lifeguards and pool equipment. And also the installation of a new emergency generator immediately south of the existing clubhouse. All of the work is going to take place really in the area of the pool, and I think the best way to show you what is supposed to happen is with some of the images that we sent over to I think Marissa or Pat.
Or somebody. While you're waiting for those, did you receive the comments that we got from the Bailiwick Association today? I believe it was.
I did. I got them about an hour ago, and I sent a little note to Marissa with some comments about their issues.
Okay, that little note to Marissa may not have made it into our inboxes.
Well,
But so
I'll
you
be
be ready to,
Yeah.
alrighty.
So there you have the club. It's in existence for I think something over 50 years in the western part of town on a piece of property that the next image shows the area in which the work is supposed to take place. To the pool is shown in blue, and that is going to be redone. The clubhouse is to the below it, to the right. Nothing is happening there except the installation of some landscaping and the emergency generator immediately to the south of that building. The work is really going to take place where the pool is and in the area around the pool deck, pathways, and the couple of small buildings that are kind of outlined in red to the lower left of the pool, where the lifeguards hang out and the pool equipment is located. And that's one of those buildings is going to be enlarged to do both. The next image will show in, I think, red outline how it, well, again, those areas. The new lifeguard equipment building is shown in the dark gray. The slightly larger pool is again in blue, and the area that has a red circle around it, oh, well done, is where the kiddie pool used to be, and it will be integrated into the newly renovated pool. The club as a whole, which you've seen in other applications gone by, has I think it's 7 tennis courts altogether, 3 paddle tennis courts to the south of the property. In addition to the swimming pool and the kiddie pool, there's places to park, over 125 parking spaces, and it's served by private water and sewer. The next image is a colored up version of what the landscape plan is going to be looking like. I noticed there were comments that you mentioned, Ms. Alvin, from the Bailiwick Woods Association about some screening around the pool, and there is screening around the pool. I noticed that in the comments that you got from Ms. Mock, no, that's okay. We can go back, Pat. In the comments you got from Ms. Mock, she liked the landscape plan generally, liked the fact that we were rebuilding in a developed area, but had some comments about the boxwood that the landscape architect had chosen. Suggested ilex. The landscape architect tells me she doesn't like ilex for this installation, but is confident that she can work out a satisfactory plan to substitute for the boxwood with Alexandra. The writer from the Bailiwick Woods Association also had some concerns about the generator, which is located in an enclosed area south of the building, or will be located there. It's served by natural gas. It is emergency only. Some years ago, they had a lengthy outage of electricity and lost a lot of food stores that were kept in the clubhouse to the north of the new generator. They didn't want to have that happen again. Also, the generator is intended to serve the pool pump, which circulates the water and makes sure that the quality of the water remains at an acceptable level, and we don't want to lose that ability. I heard during the discussion yesterday at the briefing some concern about where the additional green area.
We figured it out. It got figured out. We didn't know where the additional impervious was, and then somebody calculated it. So we did finally figure it out.
Good. All right, fine. I included it, which Pat was about to show.
Oh, sure. Go ahead if you've got it.
The worksheets, and that does show exactly what you've discovered, which is that the additional impervious area comes from a small addition to the pool area. The additional walkways, which is shown on the next image, and the walkways over 5 feet in width have to be counted, as you know. And so the next image shows, I think, or does that show it all? Existing, next one, well, I guess it's not shown very clearly, but it's basically what you've seen. It's those 3 elements. And that's why we're asking for the commission to exercise its discretion in permitting that additional impervious area to exist. The letter from the folks at Bailiwick Woods also asked about how the site was going to be accessed for construction purposes, and we'll be glad to provide a construction logistics plan for the staff. We'll also review it with the neighbors. Angelus Drive will not be used for construction purposes. And I'm not sure that I answered all of their
Well,
questions.
you did. You left one out, that is that the Bailiwick Association was asking if the ARC could review, could be asked to review. We had waived it, assuming that it was a small enough and non-visible component. But their point was that it was visible to them, and that therefore, so that was a request. They wanted this to go to the ARC.
Yes, I noted that, but I also note that there are two existing sheds in the location where this is to be constructed, and I think that they would agree that the new replacement is going to be an improvement. Also, you'll note that there is additional planting in the area, which, if it does have any impact on adjacent views, we'd be glad to amplify. But hopefully we don't have to go to ARC, because we would have done that already, and they would probably wonder why the architects on P&Z couldn't
Oh, no, Mr. Cohen, they never wonder why the architects in P&Z don't do their job. That is not something the ARC asks itself on a regular basis.
I find that they always do their job.
Yeah, uh-huh. Let me ask you, I keep trying to, is there an exit from the club? There is an exit from the club into Angelus, right? That narrow driveway by the parking lot.
There is. Yes, there is.
Is there any possibility that the club would agree to closing it?
I don't know that. I've never discussed this with them, but I will.
So the reason that we would ask that is Glenville has, as you may have heard on your evenings spent in our company, has an issue with how much traffic there is on Angelus. It might not be much, but it could cut some traffic from Angelus if the club was willing to consider it.
Madam Chair?
Yeah.
That driveway that connects to Angelus, according to the previous site plans, is for emergency vehicles only.
So
And
is it
currently
gated?
has a gate on it.
Okay.
There's an interior barrier, and it looks like a bicycle rack. The only thing that's actually open is
Okay, I couldn't see it. I looked for the gate and couldn't see it. I can only see that the driveway's there. Could we verify that it's a gate and that it's always closed?
I will verify that.
All righty. Because it would be good to ensure that there is nothing but an emergency vehicle that comes down Angelus. All right, okay. Anything else? Mr. LaRoe and Mr. Lowe. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Lowe first.
I read that letter very quickly in some sort of distorted form, so I may not have gotten this right, but I thought there was concern on the part of that neighborhood association about the testing of the generator as an issue. Was that right?
Well, when you test generators, they're noisy. That's what they're looking for.
Oh, I know. I understand.
Yeah. They're looking for enough soundproofing on that generator that when it's routinely tested, they don't have to listen to it.
Right. So I just wondered, is this something that Mr. Cohen, have you addressed that?
I sent, when I got this from Marissa, Mr. Lowe, I sent her the cut sheet for the generator that we have. It's a Generac generator. It's a fairly standard one. I believe it's tested once a week. And if it's like generators of the size that I'm familiar with, It's about a 20-minute test, and it is an emergency generator. It is only intended to function on a longer term basis during power outage.
No, I understand. And I thought, I don't think I read anything about the neighbors' concern about the use of the generator during some sort of outage, but it was the testing, I thought, the regular testing of the generator that was a concern.
Generally, in my experience, Mr. Lowe, a time is chosen that folks are usually, during work hours during the week, never on a weekend, and for a limited period. My experience is about 20 minutes.
Mr. Lowe, the town's noise ordinance specifies that this operation happens weekdays during midday hours, and since I have this up, I can't search it, but I can get that for you, I should say.
No, I just wondered whether this was a concern to the applicant, given the expression of concern on the part of this association.
I think the answer to the question is also how long it's going to run, and I think Mr. Cohen giving that helps ascertain if it's going to be a long running noise or a short burst. So 20 minutes, which is typical.
Right. No, I understand how it works.
Mr. Lowe, do you have any other questions? Sorry.
No, that was it. Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, I don't have the elevations out here, but the property owners here to the I guess it's to the west, they're lower elevation, right? Because the pool is on a knoll, the road is below the pool, and it goes down uphill, I should say, back to Harcum. So do we know what their elevations are over to the west?
Let's see, are there not spot elevations on this?
They end here at the edge of the road. So I'm assuming since everything is going down that they are lower, but it could go back up, and I'm just not familiar enough with.
I don't have a bigger elevation topo than that, Pat.
Mr. LaRoe,
yeah.
I have the street view out. From the street view, it looks like they're above the level of the pool deck, if you would.
So they're more at level with this elevation here and not the road bed?
They're even higher than the road bed.
Right. So I guess my question would be for the commission is if this is if they're looking through the site to it or upward, that may determine how visible the new lifeguard shed would be.
Yeah, it seems to go up from the edge of the property, Pat.
So as these people are either looking level into the pool area, or maybe they're slightly below, but
I believe it looks like it's below. It goes from 152 at the edge of at the western side of the new lifeguard station up to 160. So it seems to be that they're looking up. Yeah.
And the guard booth or whatever, it's 2 stories.
It's 1 story on the east side and 2 stories on the west side.
So it's one the upper floor is level with the pool deck.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Ms. Cronin, I know you have your hand up. I can't get you into the meeting if you would accept. Mr. LaRoe, did you have something else to add?
No, that was the elevation question, which perhaps Ms. Cronin's going to answer, or Ms.
Okie dokie. Is she in? There she is. Yep. All right, and then Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Cronin?
I'm good. Nick actually said what I wanted to say. He was all on top of the emergency exit for.
Well, actually, I got you one better. I have you one better. There it is.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's a chain right there.
Well done. This Google? Yeah, Google.
Yeah, this is a secret weapon of the commission.
Wow.
All right.
That's a secret.
Very useful.
Yeah, it's very useful. So I'm pretty sure that's a chain. I'm not seeing his bicycle racks, but I do see one of those little things for private roads. So it does look like this remains locked.
It isn't, it's conditioned on their previous site plans that it's
Remain
cannot
locked.
for ingress or egress except for fire and emergency vehicles.
Yep. Okay, so we were smart. I missed that from the previous approval. Okay, great. It's just I'm scratching my head on this question of the Angeles Drive traffic, as you know. Ms. Jenkins, you had a comment.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say my recollection is with the paddle tennis things that the houses around it at that point are above the property, looking down on it. But that's just my recollection.
All righty. Anything else from the commission?
No.
All right. Do we have any public comment? Jeff Cullen. And I'm not sure who the other person is, so let me get Mr. Cullen in. And then H. Schulfren, you'll just need to tell us your name exactly when you come in. Mr. Cullen, if you would go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Jeff Cullen. I wrote the letter on behalf of the Ballywick Woods Homeowners Association. I don't know if you would like me to kind of review the comments that we put there, or if they've been viewed to enough degree already.
Well, that's up to you, sir. Do you think that we have touched enough on your comments, that we have addressed them, that we've all addressed them, or do you still have a concern?
If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to just quickly
Sure.
go through them again. So the first one was concerning the generator, and you're 100% correct in terms of just understanding that there's proper noise abatement for that weekly test. I don't think we don't have concerns during an emergency, but would like to just make sure that it isn't going to be a nuisance to the surrounding neighborhood, given the zoning in the area with this generator, especially for a commercial application. I'm assuming it's going to be larger than a standard home generator. So that's why we're just interested in understanding the size of it, whether it was a natural gas or diesel, something along those lines, understanding better the specifications on that generator. Second was in terms of the ARB, the reason we would like to, or felt that ARB guidance may be permissible, was because I do believe it will be visible from all of our property lines, especially given that the existing structures on the site right now are much smaller. I think this is an increase of 700 plus square feet, as well as now is 2 stories from the west, which is our perspective. To answer your questions before, our properties are at a higher elevation than the pool. To that end, in terms of landscaping, there was definitely, we could see additional landscaping around the new patio where the kiddie pool was removed, but we didn't really see any additional screening or landscaping for this new structure. So it does appear that it will be visible from our properties, and if possible, we would like to provide some evergreen screening. As it stands, the pool in general is, especially from our vantage point, somewhat of an eyesore for the majority of the season, given that it's typically not used for the bulk of the year. About 8 months, it's drained and kind of like a lagoon. There isn't really that much screening around the pool as it stands. So given that new landscaping is being installed, we would ask that some additional screening also be put there for the pool for our residents in the street. And then I think Mr. Cohen answered the questions regarding the timeline that we had requested, just getting a better understanding of the duration of the project and when the prospective idea of when it may occur, as well as construction. Sorry. Yep.
Yeah, you wanted to know about construction vehicles coming through the area, right? That was your specific, what kind of time frame could you expect that?
Yes, and that somewhat ties into your concern over Angeles. So that is a locked fence. I believe everyone within our community has keys to that fence because that is our emergency egress. So several years ago, the Ballywick Road Bridge was washed out in one of the storms. and that becomes our only egress in and out of the community. So
Interesting.
it's important to be there. So I hope we don't get rid of it. But
No,
yes,
no.
it is
I'm
permanently
just-
locked.
I just wanted to make sure that it was limited in some way, just because Angelus is a problem on the other end.
Understood. Yeah, so that we don't have regular
Yeah.
access through that.
Yeah.
But to that point, given the kind of, concrete trucks and large equipment for a project of this scale, we also just wanted to ensure that the Ballywick Bridge, given its, history of issues and major egress for all the homes within the Ballywick community, that, that had been taken into account, that it wasn't better to bring those heavy vehicles through that Angelus access point.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Our next speaker is H. Schufrin. And you will need, when he comes in, I'll tell him. And Mr. Schufrin, if you would kindly spell your first name for the court reporter. After you unmute, of course. If you would unmute.
Okay.
There you go.
Hi, my name's Harry Shufrin, Harry. Last name Shufrin, Shufrin, and I live at 62 Angelus Drive. You answered some of the question, and I appreciate the commission's concern about traffic through Angelus. It has been a big problem, but with respect to the gate, yes, it's important to maintain the gate, not only for the Ballywick Bridge, which is absolutely true, that's their second egress, but in Angelus Drive, when we've had storms, we had trees fall, power lines fall, blocking our exit out of Angelus, and that gate is our second egress also. So I just wanted to give the color to the commission for that. So the gate does exist. It is locked most of the time, but it's important for both sides of the gate to be able to utilize that in emergencies.
Okay. All right. I got it. I just know that all the folks who live on Angelus are hating how hard that intersection has become, given the success of, what's it called? Country Table?
Country Table, yes.
Yeah.
That's a
Given
big
the
problem.
success of Country Table. And so anytime I hear the word Angelus, I go, oh, can we do something about that? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Is there anything else, Mr. Schufrin?
No, that's
Schufrin.
it. I appreciate your concern.
Thank you, sir. All right. Patrick, could you share hold on, and Nick will probably be able to tell you because I'm looking at this sideways. The picture of the new building. Could you, the elevation, could you share that? I'm looking for what the number is. A 2.00. Page 59.
A200, you said?
Yeah, page 59.
That's it.
Is it what's up on the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so here it is. We would send this to ARC. Obviously, we only have one architect here tonight, but the question is, looking at this, do we have concerns about the visual impact on the neighborhood that are sufficient for us to send the applicant to ARC? Anybody got a comment? Okay. If you don't
I
have
think
concerns, okay, go ahead, Mr. Beckreich.
I would say actually some of the concerns of the neighbor may be alleviated to understand that actually as we see this, the upper right-hand corner elevation is missing the fence, stockade fence or wood fence that covers up that door and all those areas there. That's the elevation that faces the neighbors. And the elevation to the left of that, again, is another elevation the neighbors would see. I would think actually the only condition, only issue that ARC may have to talk about would be lighting. But then again, if we say because this is all utility lighting,
lighting.
that it's got to
No
be
lighting.
turned off at 10 o'clock or whatever.
And I sort of remember seeing, don't I remember seeing that they are not adding lighting?
This is just this is outside the door. It's
Yeah.
required by code.
Right.
So
There's these lights here. And
Those
then-
lights there, but they're not adding lighting to the site except for making it safe egress to from the building.
right.
Mr. Cohen, do you think your client would be amenable to meeting with the Bailiwick Association, sharing this with them, and just getting their comments so that, just having a neighborhood meeting, furthering good relations rather than go to ARC?
Absolutely.
All right. I think that might work well, but even better for the neighbors. You show them, you have Bailiwick show them this and just make sure they're okay with it. They're going to want screening, which they've said to you, they want the screening that's proposed around the pool. They want all the extra screening. And they're going to want to make sure it looks okay from their houses. And that's really the most, I think they are the ones who should weigh in if you don't mind doing that. And you could do that as a condition of approval, for example.
That would be fine.
And it maintains good relationships. Nobody objects to that, right?
No, I think actually bringing the elevations and the landscape plan. Mr. Cohen had one up that actually showed the existing landscape that's out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a critical thing so we can really identify. And
Yeah.
I may just suggest that actually if you do have a meeting with the property owners, meet at their homes so you can see what they're looking at.
Well, they'll walk it first. I think the meeting area would probably be at the club, but the applicant would at least get a look, drive through the neighborhood first. The association, make sure they understand what is the view. All righty. Okay, we have one more comment from the public. Oh, he's gone again. All right. Okay. What do you guys want to do with this? Do you feel like we can close it?
Um,
It may-
Okay, well, Mr. Alexander's back, so let's just see quickly what he has to, no, he went away again. He raises his hand and he goes away. Okay, no, he's back. Sometimes. It's all right, Mr. Alexander, what can I do for you? Unmute, please. He's,
Thank
okay.
you.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to make the Bailiwick area aware that our flood response to the 2010 flood showed that area is one of the most critical areas in the whole watershed. And we're going to be making an overall presentation to the Board of Selectmen on 2 days before Thanksgiving. So I just want to let those guys know that
Okay, that's not
we talked
really.
about it for them. Thank you.
Not really the forum, sir. Thank you very much. All righty. Okay, so does anybody object to closing this application?
just a quick question. If as they go through this, if there's any changes, if they meet or have any kind of difference of opinion or anything, are we okay just with what we see here, or do we want to wait till they
You mean
meet?
if they meet with the association and they have some changes in how
Mhm.
the building looks, why don't we leave it to staff to sign off on unless they have a concern?
If there are specific aspects, Mr. Macra, that you would like to see, I
Nope.
if you no,
I
now
have no.
Looks
Again,
fine.
Good.
changes to the landscaping plan, changes to the fencing, changes to the exterior of the building. I don't think those are quote zoning issues that you guys would have to actually book on, but if you want to see them, I'm happy to.
No, it's a site
Nope.
plan change. It's whether or
Yeah.
not there's a site plan change. And what I would say is that we leave to staff any minor modifications in the site plan that are an offshoot of discussions with the neighbors.
I'm happy to do that if that's what's being
Yeah.
asked.
I mean, I'm thinking maybe they're gonna want a different eve. I think it's gonna be details just to make it look a little better, and they may not have any concerns that are significant.
Yeah, the only pause would be obviously coverage is fully within your jurisdiction, so we wouldn't be able to approve more than what's being considered here tonight. But again,
But Mr. Cohen can make that clear that there can be no further reduction in green area. I don't think they're going to be looking for that. But
Okay.
I could be, I've been wrong about what people are going to say. Okay. So based on that, that being the only concern raised, this application is hereby closed. All right. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Ms. Cronin.
Thank you.
And with that, I leave you once again, as I am recused on the next application as well, due to a personal conflict.
Okay, Mr. LaRue, who's our next contestant?
I am opening up. I forget. Oh, maybe it is Mr. Bristol. I'm gonna.
There we go. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Mr. Bristol. What have you got for us tonight?
Hi, the easiest one of the night. I am representing our clients, Mr. and Mrs. Huerta. Property is at 736 Lake Avenue. It's actually comprised of two lots, lots 1 and 2, shown on Greenwich Land Records map 5507. Both these lots were created in 1977 by way of a subdivision, shown on, again, map 5507, as I told you. And the proposal is to just do a very small lot line revision between the two. The properties that are the subject of this application is the old main house and the carriage house from the larger tract from which the land was, these lots were created. When the subdivision occurred, the main house stayed on lot 1, the carriage house became the dwelling on lot 2. And again, the proposal is to do a net lot line revision, causing a net transfer of 9 square feet from lot 1 to lot 2. Lot 2 is actually a rear lot. It's actually made legally non-conforming by way of a change in the regulations of how you calculate the net land area. Back in before, it was, I'm pretty sure it was a square line toward the access way. And now, currently, as we all know, it's by way of the lot shaped circle. So lot 2 is technically, again, a little bit legally non-conforming. We're actually improving that by causing a net plus of 9 square feet to their side. It's really done in order to keep the driveway circle, all the pertinent portions of the driveway that's serving the main house on lot 1 over on lot 1. Lot 2 containing the small carriage house is going to be redeveloped pretty soon.
Okay, so lot 2 actually will still be non-conforming, deficient by how much?
That's a good question. Where'd it go? As proposed, lot 2 will be 1.962 acres net. So I mean, it's a 9 square. It's plus 9 square feet, so it really doesn't move the needle very much.
Right.
But I guess the point was is that we're certainly not making it less non-conforming.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I guess there was discussion actually now by doing this, we'll have to go back to, I guess there was an original easement that was going to be given to the driveway from lot 3 to lot 2, right? So that's going to be executed?
Yes, I believe that's, yes. When the property was subdivided, there was a variance grant such that we can keep the driveway, basically use the existing main driveway to serve both lot 1 and lot 2. There's a condition on map 5507 by way of that 1977 subdivision, such that when lot 2 is redeveloped, again, which it will be shortly, that it's going to have a combined driveway with the other rear lot behind it. That was part of that original subdivision, which we're happy to have you incorporate into the decision and the any new maps.
Quick question. With all the kind of settings here, moving this line, how much more would you have to really move it to make lot 2 conforming? We're just under just by a hair. Is even that something to look at?
I mean, we're not. I mean, we're really not prepared to do that. I mean, everything is very, specific to the individual owner. To the individual owner and the plans. I mean, I don't think we're obligated to. We're certainly not making it less non-conforming.
Okay.
So there's really no interest in that.
Right. Okay. Commissioner members, any questions?
I have none.
No.
Okay. Mr. LaRoe, anybody in the audience?
It's the easiest one.
Nobody in the audience. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, would you like to close this?
Yes.
Sure.
Oh, consider it closed. Thank you, Mr. Bristol.
Good evening.
And hello, everybody. That was not much of a break. Didn't even get to make coffee.
It was more of a break than we got.
Yeah, well, now you know what it feels like. No, just kidding. All righty. Our next application is, hello, Mr. Hegney. Let me ask you,
Good
Mr.
evening,
Hegney,
Madam Chair.
combine or not combine?
I think given the discussion that you had at the briefing yesterday, I think combine. It's they're all both sort of flowing together.
Okay.
And I think a number of you made those comments yesterday. So let's just hear it together.
All righty. The next applicant, number 10, is Greenwich American Inc. for a zoning text amendment to amend section 6116 of the building zone regulations in the BEX zone to allow residential uses, followed by and combined with, I should say, Greenwich American Inc. for a preliminary site plan at 1 American Lane. Go ahead, Mr. Hegney.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, members of the Commission. For the record, Tom Hegney on behalf of the applicant. Based on our last hearing on November 4th, we made some significant changes to the site plan and to the amendment to the regulations. We've eliminated the 12-unit buildings that were flats, apartments as part of the original proposal. And we also eliminated the 4-unit townhouse units. So what we have submitted to you for this hearing is 2- and 3-unit townhouses only. And what that does is it reduces the number of units from 248, which we had in front of you at the last hearing, to 198. This also ends up reducing the floor area. And so in the amendment, we've lowered the residential component from 0.16 to 0.13 and the overall floor area from 0.25 to 0.22. Within the regulation, and this just comes from comments actually that we heard just yesterday, we amended the language regarding the Affordable Housing Trust Fund contribution to make it clearer based on comments and regulation change that the staff had forwarded to us. Before I get into it any further, I thought since you've only really been hearing from me for the most part over the last 2 years on this, you should hear from the actual client. And so Payman Lodi is here. He is a senior director at Tishman Speyer, and he wants to address you briefly on the applications.
Thank you, Tom, and good evening, commissioners. My name is Payman Lodi, senior director at Tishman Speyer, for the record. We are the owners of the property at 1 American Lane. I'll let Tom do most of the talking tonight, but wanted to briefly discuss our vision for the project and the work we've done to date. What you'll see tonight, as Tom mentioned, is a plan that has significantly changed since we first brought the project to the P&Z nearly 2 years ago. These changes not only reflect the feedback that we received from the P&Z, but also the partnership with the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I'd also be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Mr. LaRoe's helpful guidance through this process, Bless you, Mr. LaRoe. I just saw you sneeze. Okay. As Tom mentioned, our project has come down from approximately 450 units to now 198. We're envisioning a beautiful multi-generational residential community of single-family townhomes that will be centered around a community center located in the historic Stone House. We believe these homes will have great appeal to young families, empty nesters, and seniors. In addition, the project will feature several sustainability commitments like going all electric and low impact design. And perhaps most importantly for the town, stormwater and wastewater management that will actually improve versus what the existing conditions are now. Based on the feedback, we've also reached out directly to external parties, including North Castle, Westchester County, and the New York City DEP. I'd characterize North Castle's position as strongly preferring this latest plan compared to the original 450 unit proposal. They still have concerns about traffic impacts. We've shared directly the traffic analysis by Bernie Adler's group and shown them that traffic will actually be dispersed throughout the region. And North Castle concedes that the project may benefit local businesses in the town as well as Rye and in Greenwich. For Westchester County, they're supportive, especially of the affordability component that will help address affordability in the region, and felt comfortable that the insulation measures related to our sustainability commitments will also have the added benefit of limiting the effect of aircraft noise. Regarding DEP, we had a great meeting with them, walked them through how the drainage summary report will satisfy the information that they're looking for, and committed to staying in touch throughout the entire process. And that goes with all of the parties I just mentioned before. And finally, I just want to address a comment from yesterday's pre-meeting about the possibility of converting the office building to residential. I have to say that we have no intention of converting the office building and believe that the zoning regulations sufficiently restrict anyone's ability to do so. But perhaps it'd be helpful to also share that the building is just not suitable for conversion. The floor plates are just simply too large at about 150,000 square feet, which is just not conducive to the light and air requirements that you would need for a residential unit. And with that, thank you for your continued partnership and consideration of our application.
Thank you very much, sir, for making the time to speak with us. Does anybody have questions of Mr. Lodi? All right, thank you.
Great, thanks, Payman. So one of the things that had come up as part of the discussion yesterday was the legality of having this payment and to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And I went back and looked at the ordinance which was adopted in 2021, and it refers specifically to a state statute 8-2I, which is entitled inclusionary zoning. And I just wanted to read to you the language, the applicable language of that. Inclusionary zoning means any zoning regulation which promotes the development of housing affordable to persons and families of low and moderate income. And you can do it through a set aside, or you can do it through density bonuses. And the third way you can do it is in lieu of or in addition to such requirements, making of payments into a housing trust fund to be used for constructing, rehabilitating, or repairing housing affordable to persons and families of low and moderate income, which is exactly what we're proposing as part of this amendment and overlay zone. So I did start to recraft that after speaking with Pat earlier this afternoon. I didn't send that over, but I think that the language, frankly, from the statute itself, bringing that into the regulation, I think addresses the concern that was expressed as to the legality of having this payment
Yes.
associated with the adoption of the
What
regulation.
I was trying to say yesterday in the briefing is that even now, the way you have the language in the text amendment makes it a condition of approval. And I believe that it cannot be a condition of approval because our current inclusionary zoning regulation does not mandate the affordable in such a development. We could amend 6110, but that's the issue. I keep expressing it badly. It cannot be written as a development fee. And that if you is a quid pro quo. And that's what I was trying to say yesterday. And I couldn't remember yesterday the statute that says you can't do that. The donations to the trust are completely legal. That I know because, and that you know as well, because if you remove your applicant hat, you and several other local attorneys helped this humble non-lawyer draft the trust ordinance. So you guys all knew, we all looked up the statutes and we all knew it was legal. But I believe that the wording that says that we shall grant the permit because of the donation is wording we need to work around. That we cannot make it as specific as that. Now, that's what all I was trying to say yesterday is that wording's been bothering me. I can't find the statute that says that. I believe our local council may have it. So it's just a question of maybe of how we refer to it. You're the smart lawyer, Mr. Hegney, on this one. I just on this one. So it's how do you word it so it's not a quid pro quo? It is not, and that then hits Mr. Yeski's concern, which is we're not giving away the zoning because someone's giving money. Someone's giving money and we're also doing a development. Someone is giving money to the trust, and maybe it's two separate pieces of paper. I don't know how you think it through. We worked through this when we did the draft ordinance that we would eventually want to consider it to be part of our inclusionary zoning. We then met significant opposition at the RTM for that. So that's really why we haven't moved forward on that yet, of it to be a fee in lieu or something like that. But I don't believe under state law we can mandate it as a condition of approval.
When you look at what the city of Stamford does, where they have a fee in lieu.
Yeah, but
so
they've
rather
already,
than, and they have a housing trust fund.
And
that
remember we
developers pay into when they don't want to have affordable housing in their project, but they want to move ahead, making a payment to the housing trust fund.
Right.
And the language in section 6-327 of the ordinance was adopted, I think provides for that, but you need to obviously speak to your own counsel and get their advice on it.
So the difference is when you do that, just to take you back 2.5 years ago, I think it was when we wrote this, all of us, was Stamford has mandatory inclusionary. Stamford has a fee in lieu in place, and Stamford has a development fee already approved. All those things. So we had to dance around that when we wrote our ordinance because we didn't have any of that. So all we have to do is figure out how to have the zoning text amendment not say that it's a quid pro quo. And I imagine after, is it 17 years of working with you, that you can figure this out. I can't. I know there's words that say, for example, the applicant, here's this possibility, and separate piece of paper, the applicant is donating this money, and you separate the transactions. So
can I say something? Maybe
you talk to our counsel. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, I think we're trying to bend over backwards and split hairs here. I think that
Not at all.
I think that Mr. Yeski's original concern and his suggestion, and he can certainly speak for himself, was to let's get an official written legal opinion on this. And I think if we have that, notwithstanding Mr. Hegney's citing of this ordinance, then I don't think you have to nitpick over the actual wording and whether it's one thing is connected or how it's connected. I think it will be pretty obvious. That's just my view.
Well, how do I answer this? There are restrictions on when a town can require fees from a developer. And we have to be careful how we word around that. And the answer is that this needs to be reworded a little bit. Don't know how else.
Madam Chair, I have it's probably a poor example, but
Mr. Yeski, hold on a second till Mr. LaRoe finishes.
yeah. So in the state ordinance, you can take money in lieu of actual land or units, and they're under 3 circumstances, and this is just shorthand. It's now it includes parking, but it's parking, open space, and affordable or below market units. The current regulation doesn't explicitly say that the development has to build affordable units, so that's where the fee or the improper tax or whatever you want to call it is being possibly requested here, because what an ordinance can't do is say, if you want a blue house, you have to pay $100,000 to the town. That there's no relationship there.
No quid pro quo.
Right. So
because our 6110 is not mandatory. So it just has to be worded differently, Mr. Lowe. What I was saying yesterday is correct. Okay. It's just because we don't have something mandatory, and we've known that all along. And it's just a question of when Mr. Hegney worded it. I think he just, those weren't the terms in which he was phrasing it. So he just can phrase it differently and we'd be all set. Right.
I don't have an objection. I think we ought to get our attorney.
Yes, I realize you're saying that.
Okay.
But our attorney has previously said similar things to us, which is why I'm pretty comfortable that that's correct. Okay, Mr. Yeski, then Ms. Jenkins.
Yeah, I'm not sure what our attorney has said, but it's pretty simple. I've been saying all along, I want our lawyer in writing to say it's okay. I don't want the applicant's lawyer to tell me it's okay. And I don't think we should be playing lawyer. No offense to any lawyer, but none of us are lawyers. Okay. I think it's a pretty simple request. I'm not sure why we're beating it.
We're not beating it. All we're saying is when
it sounds like we're beating it. And
no,
we did get a
not.
letter earlier from an assistant town attorney saying she wants to look at it more.
No, we did not get that letter. In public, we did not get that letter. I'm trying to tell you guys that that was a confidential communication to us.
Okay. It sounds like
I was trying
we
to
need
say
to
the
get
same
a letter
thing to
from
Mr.
our
Lowe.
lawyer.
All right. So, Mr. Hegney, as simply as I can put it, what the comment that I made yesterday and Mr. LaRoe has also made is an accurate one. I believe you're aware of that. And if you would reword that so that it's not a quid pro quo, we're all set, and we believe that we will have an official non-confidential sign off from our counsel.
I believe that we can come up with the proper language to satisfy the statute and the concerns that the commission members have expressed.
And it's just a question of not linking the two. And okay, Ms. Jenkins?
Yeah, as someone who is a commissioner, has her commissioner hat on and not her lawyer hat on, I would just
Well,
say it's
we
kind
took
of-
away your lawyer hat.
It's kind of a chicken and an egg situation, because I believe what we would want to do is have firm language to present to the town's attorneys to decide, because otherwise we're chasing language. So the language, I think, has to be worked out first so we know what we're dealing with.
And I think if Mr. Hegney, knowing the concern that we've raised, is able to rephrase the text amendment, we would be all set, because then we could take that to council and have them review it. And then and address this issue. I know, Mr. Hegney, that I've seen that statute, and I'm sorry because I can't remember where I saw it. And it wasn't in the context of this. It was actually in the context of writing the POCD when Mr. Yeski originally wanted to have development fees, and I studied them for a while. Okay, so yes, Mr. Hegney would reword and come back, and we would share that with council and just get a sign off on it. What else, Ms. Jenkins?
No, that's pretty much it. Thank
Okay.
you.
All righty. Okay, so there's that. Pete. Yeah.
I think unless there are other specific comments on the amendment itself, there were a few site plan issues that I did want to go over with you.
That would be great.
One that came up was comments by the town engineer on third-party engineering review. And I don't think it's that they can't review 2 and 3 unit townhouses. It's the size of what they would have to deal with, and it's something that the small engineering department for the town doesn't really have enough bandwidth to necessarily take that on. The example that I think of recently is when we did the tunnel under King Street for Brunswick School. Not a lot of engineers have experience building tunnels. We don't have too many in town. So we did hire a third-party engineer to review the design of the tunnel to ensure that there wouldn't be an issue constructing it and maintaining it. So there is that precedent, and certainly something that we think would be appropriate as part of going ahead with the final site plan and the particularly the drainage part of that application.
I'm not following you. You're looking for us to close.
No,
and
I'm just
oh, okay.
that was just a comment
Okay.
from engineering.
Okay.
Rob Sindol and I met with Juan Paredes in engineering last week and discussed the comments that he had. For the most part, I thought the comments were basically what you'd see for any site plan, the things that they want, and what we were expecting to provide to you as part of a final site plan application. So that was one of the ones that you don't see very often. And then he did have a couple of questions, Juan, that is, had a couple of questions on where they would want to have 100-year storm analysis. It wouldn't be for the whole site, but it would be for portions of the drainage system to make sure that it would function when we get the outlier storms that seem to be happening more frequently. The other one that came up as part of the discussion yesterday was, had we studied Gateway Lane and King Street? And I spoke with Mr. Adler earlier today, and he's prepared to go through that with you if you like. But that's the closest intersection to Greenwich. It's just over the border between
okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt
the
you.
Greenwich part of King Street and 684.
So, Mr. Hegney, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the question that came up was because DPW had not seen the original traffic study. And then they said, and would you please include Gateway Lane? So I think rather than Mr. Adler speak with us now, the ideal thing would be for us to make sure that DPW has the original traffic study and that Mr. Adler summarizes for them with a copy, of course, to P and Z, or go to P and Z first, I guess, right? Summarize.
Yes.
Yeah, through us, through you. Summarize what they found on Gateway, because the question's coming from DPW about Gateway, and it's coming up because they didn't see the traffic study. And I don't know what happened to it, but they say they never saw the original one, and then they saw some reference to it, and they're saying, why didn't we get it? And so I think it would be better to just have the right people talk to each other.
That's fine.
And
we're
just do
happy
it
to
like
do
that, because we didn't raise any issues on that specifically. Okay.
And the other question that brought up in various ways yesterday was density and crowding. And I did speak with Eric Zambell, our architect for the project, who said that on average the buildings are 25 feet apart. So there's ample space between each of them, and be happy to have Eric go over that with you if you like. He's in attendance as well. If you'd like to,
I think that might be.
To have a further discussion on that.
Lo is shaking his head, and he's the one who was saying that when he saw the aerial view, the rendering of the aerial, that he was concerned about the density. Mr. Lo, has that concern been alleviated, or would you like to hear Mr. Zambell?
Well, I don't know why you're looking at my shaking head, but yes, I was shaking it.
Because I watch all of you all the time.
I know it's unfair and probably illegal, but anyway, I don't feel like I need to have somebody walk me through what I saw on the map or diagram, however you want to describe it. So I don't have the need for that. I was expressing a reaction to that, and it has been a reaction that other people have expressed through all the iterations of this application. But so I don't need to look at it. It's just an observation. It didn't mean to. I didn't want to. We don't need to prompt any kind of lengthy, description of how many feet one unit is from another.
Okay.
But if it would help clarify the issue for the chair.
No, the question is, we have repeatedly told the applicant that this project was at a density that we were struggling with.
Right.
The question is, have our density concerns been addressed at this time, or do we want further information? And I raise that for everybody. Mr. Yeski, Ms. Jenkins.
It's a good question. Let's hear from everybody.
Mr. Yeski?
Yeah, no, they're not proposing any change. Well, they are proposing. They've eliminated the multifamily. They've improved the distances. They've lowered the number of units. It's in a very unique section of Greenwich. I'm waiting for the legal words to be worked out.
That's on the zoning, so that's on the text amendment, though. This is just on the site plan. How are you feeling about the density? Do you have additional questions?
Not in love with it, but I could live with it if the zoning works out.
Okay. All right, Ms. Jenkins?
I appreciate the reduction of the larger units. I feel like the profile of the smaller houses is beneficial to the look. So I'm more satisfied.
Mr. McRae? Go ahead, Mr. Lowe. Sorry.
I was going to add, I may have overlooked Mr. McRae. I was going to ask how our chair felt, but Mr. McRae first.
You can appreciate the unit count from 400 plus down to 198. I'm equating this to the Belfair down the street, but less dense than that. If the separation is 25 feet, the ones down there are actually much closer. I'm more comfortable with this, but really the devil's in the details because I get a sense of how the buildings are laying out on the streets that are being laid around the building, but I can't get a sense of that vertical element. But this site is sloped. There's all kinds of crazy things happening. So on paper, it looks good to me.
Okay, so what additional issues do you want to have addressed by the architects right now, or by the client in general, by the applicant in general?
Who are you asking?
Yeah.
I was asking Nick because he said he still had some
Okay.
questions.
Now, I think it's, on paper here, as I see this, the density is acceptable. The FAR is not too bad. We've got rid of the four unit buildings, as Ms. Jenkins had spoke. So, I think if we're looking at just density, I'm okay with it.
All right. And what do you want to see in additional detail when you say the devil's in the detail?
I think for me, it's the actual heights of the buildings, those kind of things. But that's actually really getting into the weeds. We're nowhere near that at the moment.
Oh, they have provided us with the heights, as I remember. I think I'm on the wrong one. No, I'm
Yeah,
not.
I've seen that, but it's
I don't know if Madam Chair, I don't know if we have the heights of the buildings when the reduced unit counts.
Oh, you don't, Mr. Hegney, you didn't change that information and when you.
No, we didn't.
right.
And it's something that we do need to look at because frankly, it was the flats, the 12 unit buildings where we needed to have the additional height.
Okay.
And story. So
right.
Going with the townhomes, particularly when they're 2 and 3 unit buildings. Eric will have to look at that a little bit more closely and see if those proposals that we have in the regulations are really necessary.
Yeah, and then you can take, yes, great. And then you could weave, because there were a couple of places where you have not worked in the changes. I think you also didn't recalculate completely what the total open space now is. Did you recalculate that? I'm not.
Well, our green space?
Yeah.
No, we haven't.
And your open space
our
is.
engineer has done some calculation.
Okay, so
Frankly,
we'll work it
there
out.
wasn't an awful lot of change.
Okay.
Because when you're going from 12 units in one building to spreading that whole sustainability and coverage issue, you don't really save a lot. You save it when you put them in a tighter building envelope.
Now, okay, so you're going to work all that through. The other thing is there's a comment from DPW that they may want to hire a third-party engineer. Is your client amenable to that?
Yes,
Okay.
I was hoping that I had covered that already. But yes.
Just missed it then.
No,
okay.
I think that will streamline the process and help everybody involved.
Yep. All right. Is there anything else before we turn to public comment?
Hang on.
Okay, Mr. Yeski.
Did we, Patrick, have you heard back from North Castle? I thought you said you were going to talk to them or.
No, thank you, Mr. Yeski. I did reach out to Mr. Kaufman, who's the town planner there. He verbally said to me that obviously less units is less of a concern for North Castle. He was going to either get authorization or get a letter from the town manager to send to us, but I don't think it. Well, I know right now it hasn't arrived, so I think he was intending to have it sent this afternoon. But we'll get something that at least updates their comments on the recent revisions.
But it sounds like they're okay with it. And
Well,
they're
I
gonna
mean,
stay,
they're always concerned about parking in their downtown.
right?
I know that sounds familiar. So they would there probably will be a comment that says, you know, more people in the area are going to congest our area, you know, our little hamlet. But again, you know, not to point fingers, but they're looking at similar projects on their side of the line, and they're doing some similar ideas with their corporate headquarters. So, you know, they're looking at it on their own side, doing their own planning. So, you know, I think the reduction in units is helpful to that. I don't, you know, but again, their concerns are, you know, going to be mitigated or not mitigated, but reduced with, I think, the reduced unit count.
Would you say that we've been a good neighbor with them, trying to reach out to them frequently? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, and they really appreciate the contact and as we do to them. We're good partners in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, we have been really good. In fact, Mr. Hegney said to us that we were probably bending over backwards at some point.
Well, yeah, the one thing I did want to point out, they're doing a project in North Castle, literally across the street from our entrance onto King Street, and they are not requiring any kind of contribution toward parking on that project, which is 175 units and on a much smaller piece of property.
We're not requiring any money either, right?
Not for North Castle, no.
No, not for this project. Greenwich is not requiring any payments from the developer, right?
Well, that was
Mr.
part of our
Yeske, you're
earlier
loud and
discussion,
clear. Yes,
Mr.
correct.
Yeske.
What's that?
I'm sorry, Mr. Lodi. Everybody was talking at the same time. What'd you say?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to make
No,
it clear.
it's
Mr.
fine.
Mr. Yeski's point is well taken, and yes, we agree.
Okay.
Just
Alrighty.
being careful about our language on this
Yeah.
recorded session.
He's got it. He's got it.
Yes.
He picked up on it right away.
Yeah, he did. Some people didn't. It's all right. Okie dokie. Anything else, folks? I'm going to turn to public comment. Does anybody from the public wish to speak on the Greenwich American application? Peter Alexander. Mr. Alexander, if you're going to talk about the meeting for flooding, this is not the forum. This is a planning and zoning hearing. It is not a forum for announcing future meetings. Thank you. Okay. His hand is back up. All right. No, it's back down. All right. There seems to be no public comment. His hand goes up and down. It does this every time.
For everybody who's wants to comment, just please click the raise hand function and leave it clicked, and we will get to you. If you
No, we don't have anybody who wants to comment. There's only about 30 people left in the meeting. Okay. So how soon can we see Mr. Hegney again?
Well, there's another meeting on the 28th.
Well,
You think I don't know if you can resubmit in time because of the Thanksgiving holiday.
well, that's my concern, Madam Chair, is comments from the law department. I don't have a good sense that we can guarantee them for the next meeting. So, and I don't know, again,
Not that we got comments from the law department.
well, if we were seeking them, there would be limited work days between now and the next meeting to address that.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
so let me see what we can do over the next 24 hours, Madam Chair. And if
that sounds good.
if we're going to need more time, there's always the meeting on the December 12th.
And the other thing that we could do is I believe it would be acceptable for Mr. LaRoe to circulate the revised language by BCC to the commission. As long as we're not meeting, we can provide him input individually. That is the way
open applications. Certainly you can.
That's what we do so that we never have an unnoticed meeting. So we could, if you had new language in, it could be circulated by BCC and he could get input from the commission without the commission having a meeting. So that's a possibility because you know where the concern is. All right.
Yes.
So we would be continuing both of these applications?
Yes, and I will get an extension letter over to Mr.
Thank
Moreau
you.
because I think we just have it to today.
I believe that that is correct. Yes, we would need an extension from you.
Right.
Otherwise, we would be very unhappy. All right.
And we don't want that to happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All righty. And with that, I believe
I
you.
will leave you to the rest of your meeting then.
All righty. Thank you very much, Mr. Hegney.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And with that, Mr. Basili. Where's Mr. Basili? There he
Yeah.
is. Okay,
Okay.
so you have time to go out on a date tonight.
Oh, yeah.
The public hearing is now over.
All right. Sounds
So
good.
grab your wife and take her out.
Yes, I'll get my little black book. Okay.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All righty. So now we go to the discussion items. You guys, you're feeling good, right?
Yep.
All
Let's
right.
Let's go. Go.
Excuse me.
I could-
Okay.
I could stand a break, but if you guys want, maybe it seems like we've got 4 discussions items, which at least a couple of which, or one of which, may take a while.
All right.
Or
Up
3.
to you
I'm
guys.
sorry.
What do you want to do? It's
But I'm
6:40.
prepared to be voted down by Dr. Yeski and others.
Well, I'm not, Peter, I'll go with you. I have to recuse on the first one. So I only have 2 or 3.
All right. Anybody else?
I'd rather go straight through, but if you have to, you have to.
I would like
Okay.
to go straight through.
Outvoted. Let's go.
All right.
Let's see what happens to the next one, which I'm not part
All
of.
right. Let's do that. Let's get Mr. Bruce, for whom the Bruce was not named. Yeah, because he's going to go eat dinner.
It might not be Bruce's museum, or the Bruce Museum, but it's not. Oh, damn!
Good evening, Mr. Cohen.
Good
So
evening, Madam Chairman.
this discussion item is Greenwich Country Day School for a pre-application review for a proposed athletic track at 235, 247, and 257 Standridge Road in the RA2. Which 3 properties would also be proposed to be combined? The applicant is Greenwich Country Day.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I think I just gave your presentation.
That was it. I'll go home to dinner.
Yes, sir.
This is, first of all, it is, as you point out, Madam Chair, a lot consolidation. So we'll be applying, hopefully, to consolidate 3 lots, two of which are already owned by Greenwich Country Day School. And also we'll be hopefully looking for an application coming down the road to allow us, the school, to develop the newly consolidated parcel into an athletic facility for the school, namely a running track with a grass interior center by way of a field for track and field and other events. I think the best way to do this is to show the 3 parcels that we're talking about, and that's seen on the aerial. That is the first image that we sent over to Pat.
Tracy, do you have it? Because I'm downloading it right now. I think that was a yes. Oh, bingo.
There we go. And so this is the school parcel, which is shown as 257 Stanwich Road. It's this map is oriented with Stanwich Road to the bottom of the page, Cat Rock to the left-hand side. And the three parcels that we're talking about are 257, which is now the school's main high school campus, and the parcel immediately next to it, which is now owned by St. Catherine's of Siena and St. Agnes Parish Corporation, which of course is the traditional home of the St. Agnes, and now St. Catherine's and St. Agnes Parish. And then to the right of that, or due south, is a parcel of nearly 4 acres, which the school has owned since 2008. There is a very, very slight connection between 235 and 237 at the south end of the main campus, which really you can't see here, but there is. The idea here is to combine 247, 235 into the main campus, and part of our ultimate application will be to make a determination that that does not constitute a subdivision. Interestingly enough, the St. Agnes and Greenwich Country Day School portion, together with that piece to the east shown as open space and outlined in green, were once a part of the Domerick estate, known, I think, at that time as Wildwood Farm. And this in effect would reconsolidate that former farm property into a single parcel, together with the addition of 235 to the due south. In 1960, well, let's see, it was run as a farm for many years, going back to the 19-teens, into 1963, when the Bridgeport Diocese acquired that parcel being the combination of St. Agnes, or 247 and 257, and the open space as well. At that time, the diocese applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals and got approval to use the property for a girls' high school, and ultimately for a chapel for the St. Agnes Parish. And for a number of years, the Bridgeport Diocese operated their girls' high school on this site, consisting of an enrollment of about 600 girls. Property was ultimately acquired by Greenwich Reformed Synagogue, and then by Stanwich School, and ultimately when Greenwich Country Day School took over control of the Stanwich School by Country Day as their high school. And as I'm sure you'll remember, over the years, this commission has granted various approvals to both the Greenwich Reformed Synagogue, to the Stanwich School, and much more recently to Greenwich Country Day School for the operation of its high school. And over the years, the commission, I believe, encouraged the school to try to acquire additional land, partly to focus their athletic program on this campus, their high school athletic program on this campus. And it is with that in mind, I think that the school has been able to negotiate a purchase with St. Agnes and St. Catherine's. And as I said, the parcel to the south at 235, which is a residence, has been used by the school for several years as faculty housing. The next slide, and I'm going to apologize a little bit for the orientation, because we've the most recent plans, there you go, have been oriented, I guess, upside down. So now Stanwich Road is to the top of the page. If you could reduce that a little bit, Pat, that would be good. So the high school operated by Greenwich Country Day School is shown to the right. The St. Agnes, St. Catherine's Parish to the left in dark gray. The two parcels that we seek to have consolidated into the main campus are shown to the left, outlined in blue. And we have shown in a red outline the area of the consolidated parcel, which the school now seeks to develop as the running track. You'll note that
Just one question, Mr. Cohen. I understood you were going to consolidate all three parcels.
Yes. Did I not?
Okay, so the red area is the addition to the existing parcel.
No, the red area shows an area where construction is going to take place.
That's your construction envelope, and you are going to consolidate all three. Okay.
Exactly right. And I think that the reason for that little bump out will be seen on the next slide, which shows the proposed track. Not bad. Not bad. A little smaller if you can, Pat. Be good. That's really small.
You know, you can't make some people happy.
I know.
Like me, I keep thinking pre-apps are going to be 20 minutes long.
Well, I'll move this along.
All right.
If you can make it a little, well, that's good enough. The blue lines to the right and left are the limits of the newly consolidated parcel, and the construction that's being planned is shown basically as the track, and the grass field in the middle of the track, and then the bump out is a little further down on the page. You'll see there is a new parking area that is proposed to basically serve this area. The chapel continues to be shown because the school has no immediate plans to do anything with it except to use it as a building, possibly for meetings, maybe ultimately for staff housing. If there were any significant change to that, obviously, we'd be coming back to you. And if we could show the next image, it's kind of a colored up version of what is being proposed by way of the development and landscape. And you'll see that there are obviously significant landscape additions being planned. The level of the playing field is higher than Stanwich Road, so there will have to be some retention of the grade by way of addition to the retaining walls. There is, as you can see, a line of evergreen trees that exists that would be added to the south west portion of the property, and a landscaped area that would be proposed at the very south end of the field, which in part would include a rain garden. That is our intention. To address some of the comments that were made at yesterday's briefing. It is intended that the high school track and field program, which now takes place at Cardinal Road and also offsite in locations in Stanford, would all now be located here. There would be therefore that major goal, which I think the commission has been interested in seeing the school adopt, which is to try to focus more of the high school activities on this campus and to use a reduced amount of back and forth to the fields at 47 Fairfield. There will be no permanent bleachers in this. There will be some additional parking, which is shown in the bottom right-hand corner. There are a couple of small structures that are in the area next to the Stanwich Road that will be removed in order to permit the construction to take place. There will be a small adjustment of the existing St. Agnes driveway. You can see it needs to be bumped out a little bit to accommodate the dimension of the field, and so that will be part of the project as well. It's intended that there will be no new lighting except for safety lighting of the kind that's been previously approved at the main high school campus, and it is intended that this development will comply with all applicable zoning regulations. Ultimately, this will require special permit site plan approval, and we'd be pleased to hear any comments that you may have about this. We've heard from two of our neighbors, one immediately adjacent on Stanwich, another a little further along on Stanwich. We've heard from them, and I've communicated with both of them, and we will obviously bear in mind their interests and concerns as we move ahead with our planning.
So, Mr. Cohen, I take it you don't have this and 3 questions to ask us. So, based on the hearing on our discussion yesterday, an ongoing concern that the commission has raised, in which we would like to see information on when you come in, is how much traffic is being generated at the moment by busing kids back and forth from your facilities. You make the point in the letter that at present you're moving kids to Fairfield Drive as well as to Stanford to do track, that you are unable to host track meets, which raises the question then of how frequently would you have track meets? What would your traffic be for those? So what do you expect to be the change in your intercampus traffic, and what do you expect to be the increase in the traffic overall into the Stanwich Road campus? So that would be a first line of questioning, and why we kept asking over time what you would be doing, because we felt you were generating this intercampus traffic in a time when we're struggling with traffic across the board. The second area of concern that we discussed briefly is the amount of regrading that you're going to have to do to level out the proposed field area. We fight that every chance we get. The regulations, as you know, are written to preserve existing topography. And it's just, those are sentences in our regulations that just never really seem to be applied in full. I also had a question about, at present, you are planning on demolishing the existing structure at 235, the house at 235, and you would retain the chapel with the intent of potentially making that housing. I wondered if that was really an ideal spot for faculty housing. And this is obviously not a zoning question, but as I look at the location of the chapel building, it seems that to turn it into an ancillary structure for the track and field development, a supportive and accessory structure to that might be much more useful to the school. But I'm sure you all have talked about it. It's just the first thing that crossed my mind. I was thinking, wow, you could have locker rooms, you could have an area where you give out trophies or whatever. That's a great little building to have there. So those were our key questions. We, of course, once again, you know how we always ask, we ask about the master plan and where are you in the long term? Where is the school going in the long term? And in asking that, we are trying to manage all the development pressure in Greenwich, an incredible increase in traffic, and a simultaneous recognition that having top educational facilities is a draw, and that it's something that makes us a premier community. So we are very grateful to have great schools in town, but at the same time, we want to manage their impact on quality of life. So that's the overall of our questions. Now I'll turn it over to the rest of the commission. Mr. Lowe has his hand up.
Okay, well, in general, you covered much of what I might have was going to
Besides,
say.
it's why you gave me the raise.
No, it's why I try to get my hand up before you spoke. To be honest. So, but this being a pre-app, I mean, I was going to get down into some nitty-gritty questions, but I maybe for the sake of time, because we're trying to allot 20 minutes for pre-apps, and I think that time is up. And I think we both got. I mean, I think our chair has communicated the general concerns, and I would just emphasize generally about traffic concerns, because you all were here before us a few years ago, and when you wanted to develop the Fairfield fields, and there was a lot of discussion, and the representing the school, I believe you said something along the lines of, well, they just don't have space up there. And it seemed to me that if we have the space up there, wouldn't this be just a wonderful opportunity to not just reduce, but eliminate that back and forth? So with the vans and the buses and all the rest of it, recognizing that you were increasing a little bit of the congestion, or I don't know how much we'll determine, up on Stanwich Road. But don't respond to me. I just, our chair covered it pretty well, and we've got other fish to fry.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, wow. All right. Do I have any comments from the public on Greenwich Country Day? This is Greenwich Country Day. Do we have any comments from the public? Ms. Messina. Also, we got some, Mr. Cohen, we did get some email. You have seen it and you will address it. I don't see the neighbor here now.
No,
Ms.
they're
Messina.
not. Yeah, Madam Chair, it's the neighbors at 229 Stanwich.
Yes.
Just reserve the right to continue to have a conversation with the applicant and the commission when the application comes back.
Perfect.
Okay, Ms. Messina, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you. I just wanted to mention the fact that on this property, huge numbers of trees were removed, hundreds of trees, when Stanwich and later Country Day took over. And I was just curious as to whether there are any more mature tree canopy trees that would be coming down for this development.
Mr. Cohen, if you would reply to that.
Until we develop our final landscape plan, it's hard for me to tell. I'm sure there will be, but I can also assure you, Ms. Messina, that there will be more trees planted than are removed.
If I can just follow up, that's wonderful. However, you may understand that we're losing our mature canopy, and that has been an ongoing concern. And I was intimately involved with this property with Greenwich Reformed Synagogue, and the trees were gorgeous, and there were hundreds taken down. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker is Steve Forty. I think I've got that right. And then Mr. Alexander. Mr. Forty, if you would unmute and go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I apologize. It took me a second to come on.
No, that's fine.
I raised my hand. I'm actually the current occupant of 229 Stanwich Road.
There you go.
So you said, and it is true in the fact that the owner is not on this call, but I'm actually a contract holder to be closing on the property in 2024. So it's a bit of a unique situation, but I want to point out, we have some concerns as a family in terms of the impact it's going to have on our property, in particular, the proximity to it. And on balance with that, I have 5 extraordinary children at Country Day under the age of 13. So we want to do our best to support the school in all of its endeavors, academic and athletic. So we have engaged counsel, Mr. William Hennessy, and he's working with Mr. Cohen, and we're looking forward to a very productive discussion to get those questions answered. I just wanted to say and comment, thank you for representing us sort of in our pseudo absence, because the same concerns that you addressed in your 3 concerns are the ones that we have as a family. So I just wanted to get on this matter record and thank everyone involved, including Mr. Cohen, for doing what we can to move this forward, and we look forward to working with him.
Thank you, sir. And the next speaker is Mr. Alexander.
How about now?
There you go.
Yeah, I really wish Country Day good luck with their 9 to 12 experiment, but I really, really want to support them. They're a gift to the town and my family, and I hope they do well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Alexander. And I apologize if I offended you earlier. I was only telling you that zoning hearing that is specifically noticed for the applications is not a legal venue for you to bring other topics that are outside of our scope, as in talking about a presentation on an unrelated matter. That's all I was saying. It's not legal for us to include other matters.
Well, I understand. There's the Bailiwick Bridge that that's fine.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
I'll be a better boy from now on.
All right. That's good. I appreciate that. Bye-bye. All right. Okay, Mr. Cohen, I think we don't have anything else for you.
I appreciate the comments, and we will follow up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care.
All righty. Our next discussion item is Newfield property. Oh, but I should wait till he gets in. Mr. Pecora has his hand up. Okay, I'm on my way.
I thought you were waiting for me.
No, I knew you were listening. So Mr. Pecora, if you would unmute. Okay. Okay. Our next discussion item is Newfield Properties LLC for a pre-application review to construct a 31-unit residential building containing 7 affordable units under state statute 830G, located at 25 and 27 Oak Ridge in the R6 zone. As you were probably listening, Mr. Pecora, we did carefully read what we could, what you submitted. I did have the problem with it crashing all the time. Do you want to open with some summary?
Yeah, if Patrick could bring up the presentation, I'll just give a brief presentation and hit on points that you guys mentioned yesterday. As you said, this is a Connecticut General Statute 8-30G, assisted housing as the Affordable Housing Trust with the first page has provided a conditional commitment letter to allow us to reduce the building from 4 stories to 3 stories, provided we get 7 affordable units at 80% AMI versus the typical 15% at 60% SMI and 15% at 80% SMI. The next, if you go to page 32, you'll see that we are outside the flood zone.
Yep, we got that. We figured that out yesterday.
And if you go to page 34 and 35, you'll see that the roof height is approximately 36 feet above the average grade plane. So it's a lot less higher than you all had it envisioned. That's not final yet, because obviously the final plans need to be drawn out. It may be 37, 38 feet, but right now it's at 36 feet. One of the issues that you had mentioned was that the building seems to not conform to the neighborhood, and
Yeah, what's
it
your
looked
take
like
on
other buildings. So if you go to page 56,
Yeah, which is all the photos you sent us. Well, the style, I didn't mean the style as much as the,
well,
of the
we'll get into
scale.
that.
Okay,
We'll get into that.
all right.
So first off, there are many buildings on this street that are 3+ stories high, multifamily.
Okay.
Most of them are on the south side of the street, meaning closer to Old Field Point Road. But there is one in the middle of the street. Then there is one 2 doors to the left of us that is, I think it's 21 Oak Ridge.
Mr. McCormick,
Also,
sorry, what page were you said 53?
56 through 65.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's all the photo. There you go. Oh, yeah, I know exactly where that building is.
Yeah, so those are closer to, if you could keep scrolling, those are closer to Old Field Point Road. Keep scrolling. Field Point Road, keep going. That's in the middle of the road. That was a newly renovated 6-family house. Keep scrolling. And that kind of gives you a perspective of the size of the building as it compared to other houses around. And most of the houses are all 2-family houses, if not 3. Keep scrolling. This house is 2 doors to the left of the subject property. One more page. And that gives you a perspective as to what we're going to be looking at also. So they're, 3.5 stories high, even though, because of the grade plane. But I think we'll be fine. And I think with the help of ARC, I think we could satisfy your concern as to the aesthetics of it, if that's what you were concerned about versus the height. I'm sure Ravi, the architect, will be more than willing to work with ARC and use their better judgment as to what they would be looking for. Parking and traffic. If you could go to page 46, Patrick. This building didn't.
Very different from the amount of parking per unit that you normally propose. It seems a little lower, but it's fairly near what you normally do.
It's close, but I want everyone to be aware that this didn't start out as a 3-story building. This started out as a 5-story building. I was asked to help get this through the approval process. I quickly indicated to the developer that 5 stories probably wouldn't fly too well. And that given the amount of parking that you have on site, that 4 stories would be a better choice. If you go to the next page. And that's the 4-story rendering. And then when we looked at the financials, I quickly tried to see if there was any way I could work with the Affordable Housing Trust to reduce it from 4 stories to 3 stories. And we were financially able to do that, which I think will help both, for the neighborhood purpose as well as for parking. The 48 parking spaces plus or minus that we have with the 31 spaces is going to work out beautifully. Even though there is on-street parking, we're going to come in with recommended no parking in front of the building except for deliveries and or emergency vehicles. Apologize. The other issue that you had raised was the sewer issue.
Yes.
Which it is what it is. You know as well as I do what's going to happen. Where Richard and the gang are going to look at it, analyze it during the final application, and make recommendations as to how to get it through the process.
Okay.
And we will do what we have to do to get there.
All right. That you addressed everything that I raised yesterday. Does anybody have any other comments or questions?
Mr. Pecora, the parking in the lower level goes right to the property line. And the building is right on the front, the street property line. As you're looking at things, can you consider possibly creating some kind of a buffer around the edges? So it's a little bit farther away from the other properties, and maybe actually use the shape of the lot to help out with getting the front facade off the street a little bit more. As the pictures that you showed us, actually, a good portion of all of those pieces, those larger buildings, are really kind of farther off the street, and it helps kind of mitigate its loom factor. The 3 stories right on the street, even the one that's right next door, it's set back, it's got a porch, that kind of thing. It's fitting into the scale of the neighborhood itself. I think those are the things really to have your design team look at.
Yeah, we obviously looked at that. We helped build 62 Mason Street, which had the same thing as it relates to parking right at the parking, in the garage, but on the lot line. This is unfortunately a similar situation. In order to get the parking, you got to get to the property lines. But if you go to page, I think 52, Patrick.
He's coming.
You'll see that the setback of the building itself is I think 10 feet off the property line, 5 feet off the street, which is the same distance as Hamilton Avenue buildings. But you're not going to see any parking below because we have a terrace at that first level above the deck, and to the west of the terrace and north of the building is a planting bed. If you look at the landscape plan, which I did not include in this presentation. So you're really not going to see anything other than the 3 stories. And given that the building to the north of this is higher than this property, they're only going to see 2 stories. So it's when you're driving down the hill, it's gonna have a nice illusion as to the size of the building. Maybe not.
It's that ratio between the curb and the height of the corners of the building.
Understood.
And it's that issue of right now, as you go down the street, and the photographs that you provided us shows that a lot of the buildings are actually set back from the street, giving a better scale to the street itself. A very small street filled with parking.
I don't disagree. We tried to get there by taking out that front part of the building and kind of putting it above where the parking spaces are. but the grade coming down kind of hurt us a bit. And also, I don't think we could be more than 15 feet from the street total for fire truck access, because that is our fire lane, I guess you would call it. The driveway doesn't count, so it's the street itself. But I'll talk to Ravi and see if we can move it back slightly. But by doing that, we're going to end up eliminating units, and which might be problematic financially. That is, unless we went up another story, which I know everyone really doesn't want to do. But I hear you.
Anybody else?
Thank you.
Mr. Yeski?
Yeah, I think Nick was picking up on something I was going to ask. I'm not sure that it may have been answered, but is this the only site on that street that you could see this kind of a building being placed into? You know, what happens is if it's successful, people copycat and they start going down the street and doing the same thing. Is this a one-off kind of a site because of its unique location, or is
It's a one, the grade helps a bit because of the hill. So and the rest of the road is flat. The buildings are quite expensive on Oak Ridge, so it is cost prohibitive. I personally didn't think this was going to work because of the cost of the properties. And I thought that the only way it would work is to go 5 stories initially. But when we ran the numbers and with the developer and he's pretty confident, you know, so I think the only way that this could work properly with the amount of parking that I personally feel you need to be able to rent and get the numbers that you need to get on the market rate units, you need to have a grade that works with you. So a flat grade would not be helpful in my mind. So yes, I would say that this is a unique. I mean, across the street you could do it, I guess, but I guess this is about as unique as you're going to get on this road.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Does anybody from the public wish to speak on this application? This is an 830G application for 31 residential units at 25 and 27 Oak Ridge Street. Nope, I see no raised hands. All righty. So I think you've done this enough times, Mr. Pecora, that you know exactly where to go from here. You probably could have written our questions before we asked them. And
you give me way too much credit.
Okay. So you probably just as much want to know what's going to be involved cost-wise in addressing sewer. And whether, and then what are the safety issues if, you know, if there's, it seems you've thought through fire access, and any other safety concerns.
Yeah, site distance, I think we're okay.
Yeah.
You know, the sewer is really the only issue, and to me, it's not an issue because if you approve it, they're going to make it work, and if the town knows exactly, meaning if the sewer department knows exactly where the problem is, they should probably fix it, in all honesty. But who am I to say?
Okay, well, let's see where they go with that. You know, I would love to see more green area. I would love to see a better area for children to play if you're planning on attracting children, because, you know, there's nowhere for them. I learned something interesting. The original, I think you heard me say this the other night, the original statute that creates the housing authority in 1949 mandated playgrounds for kids. in housing authority development. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just something that people were thinking about. I'm not sure. Sam said that they do think about it every time, but I don't know that they always ensure that.
Sam is the housing authority does their job very well. They definitely
Absolutely.
but there's a difference between public housing and affordable
Absolutely.
housing. This location, given the proximity to the train station and the bus routes, is perfect for young professionals, and I don't think you get better location, to be honest with you. So I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, sir. And we'll see you when you come back.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. All right, for our last discussion item, we have Fairview Country Club at 1241 King Street for a pre-app. Oh, who's representing them?
I believe it's Mr. Finger.
Oh, hello, Bill Finger. I didn't know you were representing them. Hello.
Hello. Yes, I am. Our professionals had a previous engagement, so I'm
There you are.
representing you.
I
For the
didn't know you
record-
were so active. Hold on just a second.
Sure.
Our next application is a discussion item, Fairview Country Club at 1241 King Street for a pre-app review to construct a pergola on an existing pool terrace, creating an overvolume situation. And this is on a almost 200-acre property in the RA4. Go ahead now, Mr. Finger.
For the record, Bill Finger. I'm president of Fairview Country Club. And good evening, everybody. As Madam Chair indicated, we are seeking to install a pergola system with a louvered roof that will go over across the entire entirety of the pool terrace seating area. This is a pool terrace that we received approvals from you last year, the year before, and constructed it early part of this year. The pergola is going to be affixed to the existing building along its length, supported by columns that will be situated on the terrace wall. And there'll be one intermediate column that will be on the terrace itself. The pergola has louvered ceiling with integrated lighting. And as we indicated, we're not adding any, we're not creating any additional impervious area, not increasing the floor area, surface area of the property. And we are adding about 19,000 cubic feet of volume to the club.
We actually didn't have any questions on your application yesterday. Did you have any questions for us?
I do not.
I do not think that you need to go to ARC for this.
Okay, thank you.
The only question I really had was whether or not you had been able to do the paperwork to get on a soon agenda.
I'll defer to Patrick. I believe our architect, Sarah, emailed the application in. Patrick, I don't know whether it was emailed in on time. So whatever you decide.
It's in. If it's complete, we will see what we can do with scheduling. But if not, it will definitely be on the December meeting. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. We don't have anything else for you, but thank you for spending the evening with us. Well, it was only 4 hours. No, not even. It was only 3.5 hours. You were lucky.
I was waiting for your dinner break.
Yeah,
I saw Dennis
too.
Yeski, checked out for a little bit.
Yeah, Dennis doesn't let us have dinner breaks. He goes for dinner and then doesn't let us. He's a slave driver.
I'd be happy to sit as part of the Greenwich Country Day School application if that's what bothers you.
Thank you, Mr. Finger.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Bye-bye. All righty. I hereby move approval of the September 19th, 2023 minutes. Absent at that meeting were Macri and Barilak. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Yeski has seconded. Mr. Yeski, how do you vote?
Yay.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
And Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 4-0, and we go to our other decisions. Mr. LaRoe.
Before we get into decision mode, can I just ask one quick question? Country Day, are we going to ARC? Are they going to ARC?
You know, I would like to see what they do, how the layout and the regrading, and walk them through it and hear about the traffic
Okay.
before
you
we
want more
stop.
data.
Also, they aren't really, what ARC is going to come in on the landscaping and the lighting and the walls. And that's really all they've got, because there's not a new building.
Okay.
Right? That's
I
my
just
take. What do you
forgot to
guys
ask
think?
them.
Yeah, they should come. I want to, what's the actual plan?
Yeah.
What's the actual
Yeah.
landscape?
Yeah.
So
Let
we
us-
understand it
yeah.
before they tool off to anybody else.
Because
Okay.
our biggest questions are the sort of big picture impact on the community. And ARC is going to be looking at those grade plane walls.
Okay.
And they're going to be looking at the landscaping. We're going to be interested in how many trees they're taking out and how many they're replacing and how sustainable they're doing this. The regrade is really significant.
Yep.
But outside of that, they're demolishing the old structure and they're not building a new one.
Correct.
So not really seeing it. Okay. Now, and again, we will decide what we do with moving 9 Glenville at the next meeting. So anybody who was seated on it, if you would kindly not go on a wonderful trip, or if you do, you have to check in with us. All right, Mr. McRae, I believe, am I correct that we only have 2?
2 or 3, but let's
3,
do.
you
I
have
think it's,
you have 3, but the third
Text
one
amendment
is
was the first one?
Huerta. The third one is
right.
736.
Text amendments first, right?
Yeah.
Text amendment. This is concerning Connecticut General Statute, Section 83A, PLPZ 2023-394. Amendment seeks to modify Section 695, Section 194A of the Town Building Zone Regulations to permit nonprofit museums to serve alcohol as an accessory use under a nonprofit public museum pursuant to 622 of the Town of Greenwich Building Zone Regulations and Section 8-3 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Whereas Section 30-37A of the Connecticut General Statutes provides for alcohol or liquor permitting in nonprofit museums, the Commission finds that WestCog issued an opinion that the proposal has local interest with minimal intermunicipal impact. The suggested revisions are in keeping with Connecticut General Statutes sections 30-37A and 30-91. The suggested revisions are in keeping with the GP1 objective 1.1C, GP5 objective 5.4, and GP6 of the 2019 POCD. Therefore, motion to approve the text amendment as written.
Before I say, do I have a second? Though one of those includes supporting cultural facilities, right?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, because I don't know the numbers. Do I have a second? Doom, 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 doom.
Anybody?
Mr. Yeski has seconded. All righty. Mr. McRae, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski?
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0, and we go to the Bailiwick Club.
Okay. Bear with me on this one because there's a bunch of okay.
Yeah.
12 Duncan Drive, final site plan special permit, PLPZ 2023-347, applicant seeking to approval to permit to demolish the existing lifeguard shack and kiddie pool, renovate the existing pool equipment building, resulting in a 438 square feet of additional gross floor area, expand the pool deck, construct new walkways, generator, and associated landscaping and stormwater drainage on a 7.63 acre parcel located in the RA1 zone. Whereas the required property came before the commission as a pre-application at the 5/9/23 public hearing under file PLPZ 2023-095. Determination was made that the architectural revisions are de minimis in nature, so as not to need ARC review. The applicant requests a modification of the green area requirement pursuant to 6-205 Note 7D. The project results in a more non-conforming green area reduced from 66.5% to 66.1%. Where 72 is the minimum required pursuant to section 6205. Commission finds that zoning issue comments 1110 requesting compliance with section 6139 of the BZR. Sewer issue comments dated 11/7 requesting applicant submit a signed letter of acknowledging P&Z comments. DPW issue comments dated 10/18 indicating resubmittal prior to zoning building permit. Conservation issue comments dated 11/7 indicating recommendations to the landscape plan. And wetlands issued a permit number 2023-084 on 10/23/23. Therefore, a motion to approve the site plan special permit noting the following. Planning and Zoning Commission provides for a modification of the required green area pursuant to section 6205 Note 7D. Per sewer division comment, the applicant has submitted an acknowledgement letter dated 11/13/23. The applicant shall meet with neighbors to discuss impacts on neighbor effects from the pool house, landscaping, and renovations to the pool itself. If such changes are made to the site plan, planning and zoning staff is to handle any such changes unless they deem necessary that it should return to the commission for review. And the applicant shall adhere to any and all conditions stated in previous site plan approvals, and the applicant shall address any and all remaining staff or interdepartmental issues.
I have a note about the boxwood.
Boxwood.
What did we say about boxwood?
There's boxwood around the pool itself. That's new. It's part of the landscape plan.
And conservation didn't like it, right?
It was, yeah, I think it was, hold on a second. Where are we?
Come bailiwick. Sorry.
So didn't the attorney say that, wasn't this the one that said they don't like, no, the landscape person did not like Ilex, which is
yes.
what they.
Yes, that's
right.
what the applicant said.
All right.
And the
And
council knows
that they were going to work this out with, or so the applicant said, we will work this out.
To optimize the environmental function of the proposed plant material, it is recommended replacing the boxwood with just put with a native species.
Native species, okay.
Yeah, just do that because she suggested Ilex. They didn't like Ilex. They can do something else. I think we talked about it yesterday. It's the blight issue.
Yeah, no, but they talked about it today, saying we'll work with conservation.
Yeah, so they'll work, or they can work with staff. Staff is easier.
All right, I included them in staff.
Yeah.
I think the council knows the landscape architect quite well, so I think they'll be able to figure this out.
They'll figure it out. Okie dokie. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lowe has seconded. Mr. McRae, how do you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Yeski?
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Mr. Lowe?
Aye.
And Albin is also aye, and with that, the motion passes 5-0. And we go to the last one.
Okay, 736 Lake Avenue, final re-subdivision PLPZ 2023-398. Applicant seeks to revise a common lot line to convey a net area of 9 square feet from lot 1 to lot 2 at 736 Lake Avenue in the RA2 zone. The commission finds that per section 6216, the application is neither a subdivision or re-subdivision. Conservation issued comments dated 11/7/23 indicating no issues with the application. DPW issued comments dated 11/9/23 indicating no comment. Health Department issued comments dated 3/27 indicating approval of the application, and Wetlands issued a permit needs questionnaire dated 10/10/23, indicating no action required. Therefore, a motion to approve the following comment with the following comments per appeal 6122. When lot 2 is redeveloped, it will share a driveway with lot 3, the rear lot located to the north. The redevelopment of lot 2 shall be reviewed by P&Z staff in regards to the easement to use the driveway on lot 3 per the note on GLR map number 5507. And the applicant should prepare a record map in a form suitable for the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission to sign and file with the Greenwich Land Records. The applicant is to address any and all outstanding staff or interdepartmental issues. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Jenkins. Okay. Mr. Baerlach.
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins.
Aye.
Mr. Geske.
Aye.
Mr. Lowe.
Aye.
Mr. McReisen. Aye. Motion carries.
Now we can talk about Margarita. She's not here, right?
How late she was to get back. Oh, wow.
Wait.
She's back.
Okie doke.
All right.
Just to say goodbye, I couldn't miss the opportunity.
I have a question before we leave. Something that
Ooh.
Bob said right at the beginning about the affordable housing and the housing of the Greenwich communities, that their work doesn't count towards the moratorium. Did I completely hear that wrong?
Yeah. Go ahead, Bob. You heard it wrong. Go ahead.
Moratorium is determined based on a complicated scheme of things that are called housing equivalency points under the statute. In order to get a housing equivalency point for a particular unit, it has to be rent and income restricted at levels defined in the statute. The words that the statute uses to define rent and income is the median income. That itself is a term defined in the statute as the lower of area median or state median income. For Greenwich, that means that in order to get a housing equivalency point, unless there's some other workaround or some regulation or some policy or some way that the Department of Housing, which determines these things, has come up with that I haven't seen yet, and I'm asking. That means that for Greenwich, anybody who builds anything that is restricted at area median income will not get a housing equivalency point for it. The biggest area median income builder is Greenwich Communities, because they use low-income housing tax credits. They use HUD Section 8. They use all the federal programs that are defined on area median, not state median. What that means is that, for example, Vinci Gardens, there will be no HUE points for those, because those will be restricted at area rather than state median. Now, it's a very complicated statute, and the folks in Hartford that implement it, I suspect must have faced this question from somebody.
Right, from the other towns that have moratoria.
Exactly.
So so two things. The way the moratorium is written, it says the greater for your first moratorium, it's the greater of 2% or 75 HUE points. We really only need to know what we got in HUE points to know which is greater. Otherwise, we would just count the 2%. I believe that all of the housing authority has to count for the 2% because it counts towards the 10%. So depending on how we qualify, I know that the housing authority projects are the bulk of what we have in affordable housing right now. So that's the one thing. The other thing is the communities that no longer have moratoria mostly have housing authorities. So while you're reaching out to Mike Santoro, I will reach out to the Chair Network really quick, because I know that, Fairfield and Westport share a housing authority. And both of, Westport had the moratorium. I don't know how Darien does their points, so I'll find out. But again, one of the things that makes me crazy about that moratorium language that I struggle with, Bob, and I know this is way geeky for most people, is it says the greater of 2% or the 75 HUE points. And I don't know how you figure out which of those two numbers is bigger, but everybody else in the world figured it out except us. So somebody's got to be able to tell us how you do that. But all those other towns whose moratoria have expired, they did that. So my sense is that Housing Authority does somehow count, even when they're using federal standards. And it could be that they get back calculated as to what's the equivalent for the state. So I think when I said, Nick, you misheard, I meant I wasn't really agreeing. I think there is a workaround, but I will research it and come back to you hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, thank you
I'll
very
get
much.
in touch. So one of the things
We just
that-
also, so everyone understands, the HUE points are a different rubric and a different qualification than the affordable units. So
I can
our
send
10% is those Housing Authority units do count towards the 10% because they're assisted housing.
Well,
units.
more complicated than that. The simpler reason the Housing Authority units count right now and would not count mostly towards a moratorium is they were mostly built before 1990. Most of our Housing Authority units are pre-1990. Only post-1990 construction counts towards a moratorium. I don't know. So the housing unit equivalency points, to give you an example, is that if you have a unit that's, I'm going to make up a number, 40% of median income, you get, what is it, Bob? A rental unit is 1.5 HUE points. And you have to accumulate 75 of those. But the problem is it's the greater of 75 or 2% of what you need of your target. And I think our number is actually 2%.
I'm very clear it's at 2%, and that's closer to 350, 400 HUE points. We did that when we went through that math when we looked at the affordable housing plan for the town.
Right.
And we sort of figured it was going to take about 350 actual units of affordable housing to get us to that level, assuming that all the units qualified for HUE points, which, as I said, as I read the literal words of the statute, I'm not sure I see how the kind
right.
of
So I will let Bob know as soon as I can find out. Danielle's the best one to ask because they have the biggest housing authority, that Westport Fairfield Housing Authority. The problem is that when we've asked our housing authority how many HUE points they have or what exactly has come on stream since 1990, they haven't been able to give us the answers. So we need those answers. And it would be simpler if they could just do it, how many units they've added and the 2%. That would be simpler for them. But I feel like it's the 2% as well, and we shouldn't even be bothering with HUE points. I'm sorry if we sounded like we were talking Greek. I can send you guys the write-up. I just sent Pat and Bob. I know Tracy knows it, but if it's just a little thing that the CGA puts out and it says, this is what a moratorium is and this is how you calculate
it. If it explains it lucidly.
It's quite lucid.
It's actually very good. It's one
page. So please send it.
I'll send it to you all. It's quite lucid. I'll resend it because it is quite lucid. If you ever are like, and especially because you hear people say, oh, it's so easy to get a moratorium. And you're like,
no, no,
not so much. But yeah.
That is what they say.
That is what they say. And all the surrounding towns have had theirs expire.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to renew them. And there's something I learned recently from the chairs of the other towns that bowled me over. Bob, if I know my target's 2% for my moratorium, and I have actually built 3%, that extra 1% doesn't count for my next moratorium. I have to start over again.
It's called a negative incentive.
I mean, and you should hear how mad that makes the people who got denied because those points were excluded because they were built before the first moratorium. So even though they had excess, those excess units aren't counted. So you're supposed to run out and tell people not to get COs.
Just
I mean,
stop.
who
building.
knows?
Stop.
Building. No, stop now.
That absolutely does sound like the sort of bureaucratic.
Oh, it's like we do the same thing to people. So I will try to get you guys an answer. We'll see. I know it's like it is really a very hard topic. And every time I read that statute, I was reading it again today. And every time I read that statute, I scratch my head. So,
All right, we'll send it to it. And we have a shot here to finish before 10.
I think we
Oh,
might
great.
make it.
Let's do that.
Does anybody want to talk about revising 6110, for example?
I'd like to say good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you.